Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever saw. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
All right, so we got a lot of crazy things going on, folks. I don't know if you heard or not. First time in 400 years, somebody in the royal family got arrested. First time in 400 years that this hasn't happened. And Vinny has, who was the person 400 years ago, because he's fact-checking. He wants to know what happened 400 years ago, and now it's Prince Andrew. So there's some arrests taking place with this Epstein stuff in other countries. People are asking, how come not in America? Then yesterday, this man who is very kind, very giving, who gifted Epstein the biggest private residence in Manhattan, 54,000 square foot property that's worth some $77 million. He's speaking yesterday, and his lawyer leans over and whispers to him, I swear to God, if you say one more effing word, I will kill you. It's made for TV. You have to see it. And then Tom, for the first time, has some stuff he wants to say about Epstein that he did research. Literally this morning, he's like, I got some things I want to talk to you guys about with Epstein. Number two, how about them Indiana Bears? I was excited about them Indiana Bears, right? Chicago Bears. If you would have told me the Bears are leaving Chicago, I would have never believed that's going to take place. That is something that makes zero sense to move the Bears out of Chicago. There are so many teams you can do that with. You can do it with the Clippers. You can do it with the Chargers. You can do it with the Cardinals. You can do it with so many different teams. The Bears? You're going to do it with the Bears? Chicago? And why? Wait till you see why. Taxes. And then the mayor's like, yeah, you know, we kind of missed each other yesterday, but I think they reached out to me, but we missed each other. If the team is leaving your place and you don't make that phone call, what kind of a mayor are you? Pathetic that another great organization is leaving Chicago. Citadel did. Ken Griffin did. A lot of people did. Now they're going to Indiana. We'll talk about the reasons behind that. Aside from that, we got a few other things that's going on. Trump had the border peace meeting yesterday, which I don't know if, Rob, if you saw that funny clip. I don't know if you have it, where he says, Marco Rubio did such a good job in Munich that I almost fired him. You know, the guy's sense of humor, he's like, he gave such a good talk that I almost had to fire him. So let's have that one ready as well. A couple other hot mic moments. Maybe we'll get to them. Netanyahu says if Iran attacks, they will face a response they can't imagine. I don't know if that's the case, because Iran's not going to attack. And Israel is probably going to be attacking those guys. I'm sure we're going to have a conversation about that here, because every day, at any given moment, anything can happen to Iran, no matter how tough Khamenei keeps acting. On any given day, any second, something could happen. We'll see. I'm sure we have some differing opinions here that we'll have the conversation with. Bill Gates cancels appearance at India AI Summit amid Epstein scrutiny. Ro Khanna on massive plan to force power vote on Iran. Trump says he's directing the Pentagon to release the files on UFOs. Look, I mean, if you're not going to go after the Epstein files, at least go catch some aliens, right? You got to go get somebody. I mean, it's like, let's arrest some aliens. Can you imagine that? Like, we got to arrest some aliens and we're going to get on, figure this part out. Like, there's some urgency to it. Elon Musk, you know what Elon said?
The best.
Do you guys know what Elon Musk said? Elon Musk, this is a debate on today's podcast, folks. Elon Musk is Team Jesus? Are you kidding me? Do you know how many people in Miami are losing their mind, canceling their membership on X? Do you know what the hell is going on when he said he's Team Jesus? He hasn't said it fully yet, but I think he's close. It was so disturbing that AIPAC DM'd him saying, what do you need from us, right? To be able to not get you to go Team Jesus. But anyways, we'll see what's going to happen with them. Can you imagine if all of a sudden you see Elon Musk doing interviews on podcasts and he's got a cross on?
Oh, man.
What that would look like? Can you imagine Elon's doing a podcast
like
with a cross
one.
on?
Was he not Christian?
And he put no, Elon's not it.
What is he?
Vinny, can you
Elon's
see
probably
AIPAC? Who do I
a
make this out to?
materialist, atheist, like probably one of those super highly intelligent.
He's never
where it's
spoken
like there's something out there. I just don't know what it is. There's a guy that's connected me. We're going back and forth. He claims he's the Messiah. He wants me to put him in contact with Elon.
Oh, God.
This is actually serious. I'm getting Menex from Messiah. And by the way, it's actually a compliment if it is the Messiah. But okay, so that's that. Now, like a couple other stories I got here to go through as well. Hyatt Chairman Pritzker leaves board over Epstein ties. Holy shit. Washington Senate okays income tax on millionaires. Fantastic. We haven't responded to Mamdani doing a phenomenal job pushing people out of New York City. I hope he succeeds. I hope he crushes it. All the people that are now upset coming out, there's a video that Vinny's got saying, you ain't going to raise taxes on our property. You voted for this guy.
Yep.
What do you think he was going to do to you? You think he was just kidding with his smile? You think he was just joking, talking about all this free stuff? The only people that gave free stuff out was a private corporation, not him. A private corporation gave a few things out for for 2 or 3 days is what they did, not him. So we'll talk about the Mamdani budget. We'll talk about, New York losing jobs to Texas. And then we got a few other things that we'll get into here with the power. Iran, we have to talk about Palantir moving headquarters to Miami. Tucker Carlson allegedly detained. And no one knows if he was detained or not detained, or is a marketing stunt because he's in the airport or something, taking pictures and selfies with guys. So I don't know if he was detained. But by the way, what a great way to launch an interview. We should do that moving forward, I think. I think moving forward, I'm being serious, Rob. Moving forward, we should say, right before launching this podcast, the FBI showed up and the DOJ showed up, not allowing to release it. And even with the risk of going to prison, we decided to release this interview, but watch it ASAP in case it gets taken down. Great strategy. Let's make a note of it, right? By the way, I have a feeling this interview is going to get millions of views. It's the Stephen Colbert strategy, right? The FCC doesn't want to do this. I don't know.
Or the
Tucker's
50 Cent strategy.
50 Cent, Stephen Colbert, Tucker, whatever you want to call it. Either way, they're all crushing it. Whether you agree with their philosophies or not, they're great marketers. Maybe Tucker needs to be a CMO. Maybe it's like more of a marketing mind than some. And by the way, maybe he did get detained. I don't know. We'll go through it. Kevin O'Leary verbally brawls with left-wing CNN panelists, and they say, Kevin, we're going to give you final word. What do you want to say? And he said, I just want to say you guys are nuts. And Dear Abby loses her mind. If you guys know who Dear Abby is, she's a sweetheart. And then Dave Chappelle laced flowers at memorial at an anti-ICE activist, Alex Pretty. He does that. And then we have a guest here today, Randy Fine. We have him here today because I really wonder if Randy, truly, if you're saying all this stuff to piss people off, if you truly are rage baiting, or if you actually believe it. And quite frankly, I really don't know. And I wanted to ask you point blank. When we start the podcast, I'm going to go straight to it.
Great.
Because I want to know, are you, because we got a lot of, we're in Florida. We got a lot of, I have people that don't like me because I had Nick Fuentes on, and Jews who are upset with me because I'll talk to anybody and everybody. And I get a lot of people that hate when I had Netanyahu on. But I'll talk to anybody and everybody. But I want to know if you're pro-Florida, if you're Florida first, if you're America first or Israel first. And some of the stuff that you talk about is a little bit concerning for people that are even Jewish. And I want to know what you would say to some of those people.
Sounds great.
And we'll get into that right off the bat. But having said that, Vinny, one thing about Vinny that I love, he's becoming a great example to everybody around here. And that includes myself. I'm so proud of Vinny. Yesterday, we're having dinner with two of our friends, Brian and Tom, who were there with us. And we had dinner. You saw them earlier. You were speaking to them. And he says, how'd you guys meet Vinny? And I started telling the story about Vinny, where he went to, where he's at right now. Life-changing what this man has turned into. Vinny, share with us what you got going on.
Pat, I love you, and thank you. God literally saved me, and I'm here now because God, the story was, saw Pat on Instagram, clicked on it, saw that he was a Syrian. I just lost 2 friends to fentanyl poisoning, not overdose because they didn't. And God got me to where I am right now. And for you guys that know, my biggest thing is faith over fear and having faith in Jesus Christ. Last week, James Vanderbeek had that message where he said, I was facing death nose to nose, and he looked so comfortable and so happy. We forgot that, I don't know if you guys remember, on February 15th was the anniversary of 2015 when the ISIS soldiers, whatever, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, were in Libya, and they captured 20 Christian construction workers, put them down. Rob has a photo in orange jumpsuits, put knives to their heads, and they said, if you guys right now convert to Islam, we won't behead you. And these 20, I knew this was going to happen, 20 construction workers said, this is what they said. They said, no, I love you, Jesus Christ. And they cut all their heads off. I know I talk about faith over fear. That right there is, these are construction workers, Pat. They're not priests. They're not the Pope. They're not, these are just regular guys that all sat their hands tied behind their back and they said, nope, we believe in Jesus Christ. That is the epitome of faith over fear. God bless them. God rest their souls. And that is it. Because Jesus said, by the way, John chapter 14:6 said what, Tom? I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. Nobody gets to me except through the Father, except through me, through Jesus Christ. Period.
Absolutely. They were in fear at that time. There was early persecution going on. If you were a Jewish person at that time and you were now listening to Jesus, the Jewish leaders of the time were like, this rabbi here is a heretic. He's saying things that are way out of bounds, and persecution started, and they were scared. They were scared. And that same passage where he says, I am the way, right before that, he says to Thomas, he said, do not let your hearts be troubled. I am with you. And it takes strength. It takes strength in knowing where eternity is, to sit there and to as Christ did on the cross, just to give it up and saying, look, I am not going to betray my Savior. I am not going to be the heretic on this side. And it says, take my life if God allows you to take it. Because if you do it, God is only permitting it, not causing it.
I love it, Tom.
Yeah.
I love it. Vinny.
So yeah, and that was it. And I just want to make sure I'm the way, I'm the truth, the life. No one gets to the Father through me. And it's just that right there is the epitome of faith over fear. And I just can't. It's almost as if every week something else is happening that's proving it and showing it. And I pray that I have that much faith if it ever comes down to it. And I pray that I get it.
Got it. Awesome. And by the way, I love seeing the faith over fear hats, shirts, everything that you got. If you feel the same way, go to vtmerch.com. Place an order for yourself, your family, and your friends. All right, let's get right into it. Randy.
Yep.
Tweet with Rob, if you can pull out one of the tweets. Let's kind of go through it. I really, I see this tweet that's been going viral the last few days. If they force us to choose between dogs and Muslims, what'd you say? If they choose between, the choice between dogs and Muslim is not a difficult one, okay? Got 45 million views. Do you really believe this, or are you rage baiting?
I think the answer is neither, and I think that you've got to understand. Thanks for having me, by the way. I live in fear of what is to come, and I actually think the story you just told is what drives me. I live in fear of a world where we are told that we have to live in a way different than we want. It used to be if you came to the United States, you integrated with our values, you love this country, and you said you wanted to be part of it. And we've had this issue in recent times where people are coming here, and now they're demanding that we change how we live. I was responding to a post by a Mamdani advisor, and obviously we've seen craziness happen in New York since he was elected, who posted, finally, and I'm not going to read it, but it's basically, it says, finally, New York City is coming to Islam. Dogs are unclean. They should not be indoor pets. Now, people don't know this, and I'm not criticizing Islam for this. They don't like dogs. I'm Jewish. We don't eat shrimp. I mean, different religions believe different things. The problem is that they want to compel us to live in a way that we do not want to live. And so my post was very simple. It said, if you make us choose, if the Mamdamis of the world make us choose between having our pets and having them live near us who have come to this country and don't want us to have our pets, they can go home. Now, I told you I am afraid about the future of the country. I'm not afraid to be blunt. And I also know how to start a conversation. And that is what this did. It got people talking. What's extraordinary is people aren't talking about what's going on in New York. People weren't talking about comments like this. People weren't talking about the call to prayer not being broadcast at 5 o'clock in the morning in New York. People weren't talking about the kinds of people he is putting into office. People aren't talking about what is to come. Now they are talking, and I think that's an important conversation to have, because we're America. We love our dogs, and no one's going to tell us that we can't have them.
So what was she talking about? What is she saying, this lady right here? What is she referencing?
In Islam, they don't like dogs. Dogs are not halal. They are haram. Muslims generally don't have dogs as pets. They don't like them. And I'm not criticizing it. This is just a simple fact. Hindus like cows. Jews don't like pork. It's just part of the faith. And she is saying, and she's an important Muslim leader in New York, and she is saying something very clear. If it's up to me, we're getting rid of your dogs as pets. 65% of American households own a dog. And if you want to come to this country and be a part of America, as all of us did, that's great. But you don't get to move here and then demand that we change how we live. And this is crazy. The Democrats have said for a long time, if you won't let anybody who wants come to America for any reason, you're a racist. Then it was, if you don't let anybody who wants to come to America and have all the free stuff they want, free housing, free food, free health care, you're a racist. Now what they're saying is if we won't change how we live to accommodate newcomers who don't like dogs, you're a racist. And I would last say this. I have been criticized by dozens and dozens and dozens of Democrats for what I said. Not one of them has said, I disagree with the way you phrased it, but in America, I'm going to make sure you have the right to own a dog. Not one of them. You know why? Because they know that this group of people exists that don't want us to have dogs, and they do not want to offend them.
And this is AOC. This is generally one of the most disgusting statements I've ever seen issued by an American official. It should not stop shocking us that the Republican Party openly embraces this. Fines should be censored and stripped of committees. To ignore this is to accept and normalize it. By the way, does AOC have a dog? I'm curious. Can you check to see if AOC has a dog?
And how many of AOC's constituents own dogs? And I'd point out this. When her colleague, Elon Omar, said some people did something on 9/11, where people actually died, that wasn't disgusting and horrible? I mean, the problem is there's this desire to cater to this viewpoint, to not offend, to say that we must submit. I don't care how people live. I don't care what your religion is. Practice it in freedom, practice it in peace. But it is this, what they're trying to do to me is the first step on the path to the story that you told. It will start with, you can't have dogs. And then it will be, you can't eat certain things. And then it will be, you must cover yourself. And then it will be, submit, or we're going to do what they did to you. That is the issue that we are up against. And I am willing to have that conversation, as are many of my other colleagues, which is to say, this is the United States of America. If you want to come here, that's great. Live how you want. Live in peace and freedom. But you don't get to tell us how to live.
And by the way, just do a quick fact check. Rob, phenomenal job as usual. AOC does own a dog. His name is Depo, a French bulldog, and she introduced the puppy in early 2020s. And anyway, she has a dog. But do you not think this gives the other side ammunition? Do you think this doesn't get the other side to say, look what these Republicans are all about? They compare Muslims to dogs, and they think Muslims are below dogs. Do you think that is something where even, a community that supports you might say, Randy, what are you doing? What are you saying?
I don't. I think you have to be willfully sort of ignorant to take that view, because I put up in my post her comment, so it was obvious what I was responding to. But you know what the number one reaction I've gotten to people since I've made the post has been? When people call me, they say they don't like dogs. Like people can't believe it. Like, who doesn't like dogs? I think we have this problem in this country that we believe that we're all one giant human family, that we all share the same values, that we're all the same, and we can sit around the fire and solve everything. That's not necessarily true. There are different cultures believe in different things, and sometimes, as Charlie Kirk said, certain cultures are incompatible with ours. And I would make the argument that those people who think that we shouldn't have dogs, there are many countries where you can go that do that. But this is not an outlandish thing. In Morocco, they're shooting 3 million dogs. In Judea and Samaria, the mayor paid a $5 bounty for every dog that you killed. There's a video that's circulating of right here in South Florida of a woman walking her dog and a Muslim immigrant who didn't even speak English, basically coming up and putting his finger across his throat if she didn't walk away with her dog. This is a commonly held view, and I think raising up awareness of what we are up against is an important thing. I am not saying, and I don't think it's fair to interpret my comment as saying Muslims are lower than dogs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if I have a choice.
That's what it sounds like.
Well, I think that's how it sounds. That's what some people interpret.
Well, I mean, if you want to go back to it, I mean, I don't want to be a jerk
choice,
here, but if they force us to choose between dogs and Muslims, you choose dogs.
If they force us to choose. If they force us to choose, that's the issue. Women like this Nerdine person want us to choose. She's saying you can't have your dog. And I'm saying if I have to give up my dog, you can leave. The important part of the phrase is don't make us choose. Come here, practice your religion. Whether I like it or not, do what you want in peace. But do not force the rest of us to submit to your philosophy. No, I don't think any human being is lower than anyone else. But I also think the fact that I don't eat pork doesn't mean that I should tell the grocery store they can't sell it. And I think that is the issue that we have in our society. Living in peace does not mean you have to submit to the views of your neighbors.
Fair enough. Okay, so next one. Are you Florida first, America first, or Israel first?
Well, I would say I'm trying to think between Florida first and America first. I think I'm both. I'm a third-generation Floridian. My grandfather came to Florida not long after he got off the boat. I did not spend most of my childhood here. I grew up in Kentucky. My dad was a college professor, went off, started a business, started 3 software companies. They all did fairly well. Retired at 40. Never thought I'd get into politics. I got into it because I got angry about what my son was learning in school. And when I went to the school to complain, I got told I wasn't qualified to have an opinion about my son's education because I did not have a degree in academic administration. I went to a reasonably good college. I was complaining about first grade math. I should have been qualified to do that. So I ran for the legislature and I made 3 promises. I said, I'm going to change how we teach math, which I did in my second year. I'm going to make sure no principal ever tells a parent they're not qualified to have an opinion about their kid's education. I did that in my 5th year, and that principal is no longer a principal, and I'm in Congress, so it clearly worked out okay. And I said, I put my kid in private school, but I felt bad that I could do it because I had money, but other people couldn't. And I said, we're going to make universal school choice happen in Florida. And I did that in my 7th year. Then I ended up in the state Senate because I needed something else to do. And then 2 weeks after President Trump got elected for the second time in the presidency, he asked me to run for Congress again, and that's why I am there. I'm America first. I'm an American. I believe America is the last best hope for the world. And you can see so much badness out there. We have goodness here, and that's why I am so worried about all the threats that are being put on America today. All of the people who hate it, who hate what made us great, who want us to change. There's nothing wrong with America. Now, I am Jewish, and I believe in Israel, absolutely. But I believe in Israel because I believe the interests of Israel and America are largely the same. Israel fights the enemy over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Why are we upset with Iran? Because Iran wants to build an intercontinental ballistic missile that could get to the United States. They don't need them. They don't need them. They have missiles that can reach Israel. They have missiles that can reach Europe. Why do they need to build an intercontinental ballistic missile? Israel's enemies are our enemies. I often say the reason they hate Israel is because Israel is small and Israel is close to where they are. And so I believe standing with Israel stands with a country that largely shares the same values that we do. Does that mean I think we should put the interests of America over Israel? No, but I haven't seen an instance where
Did you say,
that
does
is
that
the case.
mean we should put the interest of America over Israel? No?
No, does that mean we should put the interest of Israel over America?
Okay, I want to make sure.
All right, if I
Yeah,
misspoke,
yeah.
I apologize. But no, we should not. But I have yet to see an instance where standing with Israel is not a good thing for the United States as well.
Got it. So, you know, I think there was a discussion maybe a year ago or something like that, where, you know, the level of criticism, where if somebody criticizes Israel, it can be seen as a anti-Semitic, you know, individual. Where do you stand with people being able to criticize Israel?
I think it's fine. But here's where a form of anti-Semitism comes in. And this is actually one of the most insidious forms of anti-Semitism. When you criticize Israel for something that you don't criticize any other country for, when it only bothers you when Israel does it, that's anti-Semitism. And people conflate the two. So I actually ran the anti-Semitism bill here in Florida. It was one of my accomplishments. It's why Florida is the safest place in America to be Jewish. And our bill said, people would say, you said you can't criticize Israel. I said, no. First off, you can say anything you want. But when we defined anti-Semitism, we said, if you're criticizing Israel in a way that you don't criticize other places. Let me give a great example. I think this is the best example. Think of all of the people that lost their minds for 2 years over the war in Gaza. Oh, my God, they're killing all these civilians. Oh, my God. And we can get into that. Lost their mind. We're going to shut down colleges. We're going to block roads. We're going to protest in New York. The Iranian leadership probably killed more civilians in 2 days when they were protesting than Israel may have killed civilians in a 2-year war, where 1,000 Jewish soldiers died in order to minimize the number of Gaza Arabs that died. But where are the protests? Where are people shutting down our colleges and universities? Where are they marching through the streets in New York saying, this is unbelievable? The Iranian people, we need to be standing up for them. They're silent. In fact, many of them are saying, don't attack Iran. Let that continue to happen. When you single Israel out for things that other countries do all the time, that is anti-Semitism. But criticizing Israel like we criticize every other country, we should do that. And I encourage it. I've done it myself.
So how closely do you follow what Charlie said about Iran?
I mean, how
closely you follow when he ran a poll, should U.S. attack Iran or not? And by the way, just so you know, this is what's confusing here. I'm a guy that believes the world's a better place without IRGC.
Me too.
I'm a guy that lived there 11 years. I lived there 11 years. I know what the Hezbollahs are all about. I know how they treat women. I know the fears of individuals that are living there. We were a Christian family, Syrian, Armenian, and I'm there. But to me, if somebody wants to only criticize Israel, and if you do, I want to be able to prevent you from giving your opinion or just label them. What is your outcome?
No,
do you want to label that individual as an anti-Semite, or do you want them to not be able to make the comments that they're making? Because those are two different things.
So let me be clear.
Please.
This is the United States of America. If you want to call me the K word or anything else, or refer to me however you want, you have the absolute right to do that. Sure. I always say you have the right to be an idiot in America. And
right.
No one should be arrested for anything that they want to say, unless they're saying, hey, I'm coming to kill you. I mean, things like that. And by the way, I can tell you, I'm an expert in this. If you go to my average, social media post, you will find people saying the most filthy things about me and Jews. And that's okay. That is America. No one should have someone come to their door. There was an instance in Florida a few weeks ago where the police went to someone's door because she made, I guess, some anti-Semitic remarks. That should not ever happen in the United States. Now, if she said, hey, I'm going to kill people, I'm going to go kill Jews, that's different. But I don't like Jewish people, that's allowed in America. That's allowed to be said. There should never be a criminalization of that.
So I can openly criticize. You don't have a problem with that. When does it become a problem? You just want the world to know that I'm an like you would say, I want that guy to be labeled as an anti-Semite.
I don't even know that I want that.
So then why do you need that legislation in Florida?
Sure, let me give you a great example. I'll give you a couple. So I'll tell you a couple bills that I passed. The only two bills have ever been signed in the history of Florida outside of Florida. In 2019, we had this problem of anti-Semitism on our college campuses. People would say gas the Jews, all kinds of terrible things. And I said, every time I tried to deal with anti-Semitism, people would say, free speech, free speech, free speech. And I said, yeah, but what happens if you use the N-word on a college campus? It turns out within about 10 seconds, you get invited to go get your education somewhere else. No one talks about free speech.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean if you use the N-word?
If you call another student the N-word on campus,
right?
They don't say, oh, free speech, good for you. You get expelled. Because you can't do that sort of thing.
Got it.
So what I did in 2019 is I passed a law that defined anti-Semitism. It said, for example, one of the things was if you single out Israel in the way you don't single out other places, it defined.
But what if I do? What if I do that? So what if I do?
Okay. So I'm going to get to that. That's the second part of the bill. The bill said you have to treat anti-Semitism the same way you treat racism. So however you treat racism, if you'll allow the Ku Klux Klan to light a cross in the college green, then you can let Students for Justice in Palestine come in and say, from the river to the sea, let's get rid of all the Jews.
I'm with that.
That's the bill.
No, I'm with that.
No consequences.
I'm with the part of both sides.
Right. All I wanted in that bill was to say, I'm going to define anti-Semitism and say you have to treat it as racism. Let me give you a second example. If someone wants to stand on the street outside your building here and wave a sign that says Randy Fine should be fed into the ovens, they have the right to do that in the United States. That's not a crime. But if someone wants to write that down on a piece of paper and throw that onto my yard, that's not speaking, that's littering. And that is a crime. If someone wants to graffiti my building with that, that's not speaking, that's a crime.
What's your point?
That's the second bill that we passed that dealt with that. But
Okay,
these are. But I will tell you, the people who dislike these things conflate these things into saying we're criminalizing speech. We never have.
But I think what it does, honestly, I think what it does is you're only making the other side even want to go even stronger.
Actually,
well, let me give my thoughts,
sure.
and then I'll hear your thoughts. Is if kids are rage baiting, Twitter, there's a lot of rage baiters there. You know what I've learned very quickly? If a kid is rage baiting, wants to get your attention, if you fight him, he will continue and get louder and louder, and 80 other people will join him because they're like, oh my God, I can get a reaction out of him. If you're like, listen, he can say what he wants to say, and she can say it as well, let's just move on, and then the story goes away. And then when the story comes on, Iran, the same amount of people get killed in a day as they got over there and say, you're quiet about it? The people in the middle are like, wait a minute, how come you're not saying, I was actually on your side now, now you're not doing anything? Wait, the logic doesn't add up. So the logical people end up getting what's going on. The reasonable people who run America, it's not the people on the far left or the far right that run America, it's the people in the middle like, yeah, okay, all right, but you know what? I don't want to see kids getting killed and you tweeting and saying, who cares? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. I'm not with that. What is that? That's a turnoff to me. And it's like, and then on this side, Iran, well, how come you didn't say anything? And like, you know what? Both parties are extreme. Relax, guys. Pump the flipping brakes. Let's go back to a little bit of being here and allow me to criticize Bibi. Allow me to criticize Israel. Allow me to criticize the president. Allow me to criticize all these folks. And let's just debate about it. And you're like, okay, you just made a good point. Fair. That's a good point, Randy. Let's move on. But to me, I think when it gets too much of, hey, then it's like, then maybe those guys are kind of protected. Why are they protected over other people? Look what happened with Harvard when they were overly protecting, certain kids, and then now they're paying what kind of lawsuit money? I don't know what the number they have to pay out, $1 billion or $2 billion, and I think that's okay. Because you got to kind of, that part of it, I'm with it, because they were siding with a certain group of people. But I think you're playing with fire when you try to do too much with it. Let me do the last one, and then we'll get into the stories. Rob, can you do me a favor, Rob? What happened here, Randy? I really want to know from you, the video of you going here. What the hell is going on here? Can you please break this down? Because this went viral everywhere.
Sure did.
What is this?
By the way, we can come back to this being a great example of anti-Semitism in a minute.
Can you turn off the music, Rob, as good as it is?
Yeah. So I served in the Florida House for 8 years. And if you were to go to the Florida House today, you would see 30 or 40 people doing exactly this. So in the Florida House, we have sessions that sometimes last 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours. And during those sessions, there could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 votes. And a vote in the Florida House lasts 6 seconds long. So imagine being on the floor for 12 hours, never knowing when you're going to have to vote, and when the vote opens, it's 6 seconds long. You could never go to the bathroom. You could never get something to eat. You could never work on another bill because that's going on at the same time. So the Florida House has a rule that says if you give another member permission, and you need to go to the bathroom, you want to sit in the members' lounge in the back, you want to be in the speaker's office, you want to be in one of about 50 rooms off the chamber, they call it the blue carpet. If you ask another member to vote for you, you can do it. Mm-hmm. And so we actually call it, will you watch my button? That's actually the term that is used for this. And so this is actually how the Florida House operates. And everyone does it, Republican and Democrat. It's not against the rules. In fact, the Speaker of the House rarely is on the floor during the session. Someone sits next to his desk, and it is his job to push the button and vote for the Speaker because he's in his office working on other things.
So
why did everyone go crazy about this?
Yeah.
It's what we talked about. When you criticize Israel or a Jewish person for something but that's what.
Give me a break.
No, but I'm not wrong about this.
Then why are you scoping around? Like I'm not in that world. Like
actually, I can tell in that video.
Yeah, please.
Because it was my job to make sure everyone's buttons were covered. That's my job.
All right.
And if you zoom out in that video, you can see actually 3 or 4 or 5 other people doing the same thing. By the way, Republicans do it. Democrats do it. That's just how the Florida House works. Call any member. The guy right there whose head you see, he's doing it as well. We are covering each other's buttons.
If this was a leftist, we would show it. If this was we're not like
people aren't posting the videos of leftists doing it.
I guarantee
because it's not a big deal. This is a nothing.
Of course, it would be a big deal if it happened with somebody on the left. You don't think the Benny Johnsons and the conservative guys and the Knicks, you don't think those guys would, you don't think libs of TikTok would do it?
No.
I don't know what's going on here, but anyways, I appreciate you addressing it. to talk about this. I wanted to get that part out, and then from here, let's just go into stories. Okay. Thank you for addressing the stories, Randy. Rob, let's go into the first one. So first one I want to get into is Epstein. Let's go with this Lex Wexner. Am I saying the name correctly, Rob,
Yes,
or
you
no?
are.
So this is the guy that gave the largest Manhattan private residence $54,000, gifted it to Epstein, and this is documented. Very wealthy man. Here he's being talked about, you know, what's going on with Epstein. And look at the lawyer to his right, our left. Look what he whispers. And one thing we know, his parents should have told him when he was a kid, you have no clue how to whisper, buddy. Moving forward, never, ever whisper again. But go ahead, Rob.
It was just regularly done. Answer another question. 5 words, okay?
Okay.
Answer the question. Okay.
I'm going to effing kill you if you answer one more question with more than 5 words.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said,
wow.
shut your, which I get it. It's for a lawyer. But if he's telling the truth, he doesn't have anything to worry about. Why would you? And I get the lawyer part. Shut up, less words. Don't talk to the cops. Don't talk to, you know, that's what you're taught. But if you're innocent, go. If I'm your lawyer, go tell them the truth.
Tom, what's going on here? I mean, we've been through processes when I had one time we're selling one of our companies, and my investment banker called me, and he says, hang up the Zoom, call me. You remember this? We were in Monaco. I hang up. We're on a shouting match. He says, Pat, you can't say what you just said. Let me handle that part.
Yeah.
That's my job as your banker, not your job. You're paying me for this. We paid him a few $1 million. So I get the part that the lawyer's supposed to do this. But, Tom, what do you think's going on here?
Well, what's going on right here, this is really sensitive. Wexman, you know, Epstein, everything that's going on, and you have these hearings. And there's legal strategy. Your lawyer sits down with you and says, okay, how are we going to handle this? And said, well, I wasn't there that often. Whatever is excuse or his reason or his explanation, whatever word you want to use, it's going to fall under the thing testimony. So you decide what Les's testimony is going to be, and you have a legal strategy because the lawyer knows what he's going to do next. The lawyer knows a motion he's going to file. And the more words you give them, the more they can pick on. That's why typically when you're being deposed, you say yes, no, date, whatever it is, because the more you gave them, no, I was just by myself in my office with my staff. Oh, with your staff? Who's on your staff? How many of them were there? Did they hear this? Were they seeing privileged information? You see what I mean? That's what'll happen. So the lawyer is sitting there and saying something that just like the banker said to you, just like I on board calls, not with Pat, but at board calls earlier in my career, I put phones on mute and I leaned over to CEOs and says, you can't do that. That's an incorrect answer, or that's not the strategy. You know, you need to knock that off. And I have not authority over that CEO, just like the lawyer doesn't have authority over the
Well, what
witness
is he
here.
being interviewed for here? What is the context here?
All his connections, everything. Pat,
This is about Epstein.
This is about Epstein, and,
Yeah.
he admitted that in the since 1980, Epstein was advising the Rothschild and the Rothschild family about finances since the 80s. He
Right.
barely went to college.
He was a math teacher.
Epstein.
And I am not defending Les Wexner that has a pile of very circumstantial evidence against him right now and a pile of flight logs and a lot of other things. I'm not defending him. I'm just speaking to why would a lawyer be leaning over and being that animated or say something like that, and he even chuckles about it. It's because they're setting strategy. But I'm not defending this guy.
Randy, thoughts?
Look, I think the Epstein thing is disgraceful. I think everyone involved has a special place in hell that awaits them. But one of the things I wonder very much is why are we focused on this now? I mean, we're talking with Wexner about stuff that happened 20 years ago. When Democrats were in charge in 2021, when they had the presidency, the House, and the Senate, Epstein had been dead for a couple of years. Why were they not investigating it then?
Fair question.
In 2022, why were they not investigating it then? In 2023, why were they not investigating it then? In 2024, what I really want to know is what magically happened in 2025 that made them all interested. I know the answer to that is the election of Donald J. Trump. But the other thing I think we need to be looking at is the largest child abuse scandal in the history of the world as horrible as it was, is not the Epstein files. It was Joe Biden letting 300,000 unaccompanied minors come in this country, and they all got lost, and nobody knew where they were. And thousands and thousands and thousands of those children have been used in horrible ways. I think we need to be looking at all of this. I don't want to excuse what this guy did. I mean, what all of these people who hung out with this guy, particularly after he was convicted of being a sex trafficker in Florida. You know, it's one thing that we probably all have friends that we ultimately learn something about. We're like, oh, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. So you sort of can understand that. But after the guy got convicted of messing around with kids, that's not someone you should want to hang around with. And so that's really the behavior I think we should look at. What this guy claims is once he knew about that stuff, he had nothing to do with it. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Let me read some of this, and then, Adam, I'll come to you. So here's what this is apparently going on. Wexner calls final email to Epstein a middle finger 4 days before he pleaded guilty in Florida in 2008 to soliciting sex with someone younger than 18 years old. Epstein received an email from Wexner. Abigail told me the response, Wexner wrote, referring to his wife. All I can say is I feel sorry. You violated your own number one rule. Always be careful. Epstein replied, no excuse. What are they talking about? Then it continues. When asked in the deposition about the email, Wexner said he didn't know what prompted him to write, except that he was angry with Epstein over the financier's action. I think it was just me giving him the finger, Wexner said. Wexner said he was positive he didn't have any further communication with Epstein after the exchange. From my point of view, he died, Wexner said. I didn't even want to think about it. Infamous birthday book. This is another thing that was talked about. The birthday book note signed your friend. When asked about this, his note to Epstein in a latter infamous birthday book, which he signed your friend, Wexner said it was kind, friend. It was the kind, friendly closing he would have used for anyone, regardless of whether he was a friend or not. I think if I was sending a birthday note to somebody, I'd say your friend or something. I wouldn't just sign my name. It would be like yours truly, best, something like that. And then he addressed the accusations of Maria Farmer. Wexner fielded several questions about Maria Farmer, who accused Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell of sexually assaulting her during the 1996 summer in New Albany. Farmer alleged that after the assault, Wexner's security staff held her at the property until her father could pick her up. A lawsuit filed by Farmer said Epstein's Ohio property was or near Wexner's New Albany estate. During the testimony, Wexner said Epstein stayed at a nearby house owned by Jack Kessler, co-founder of New Albany Company. Wexner told the committee that he didn't know shit about Farmer. I never met her. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she was accused, Wexner said. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into this conversation here, including one of them being about Prince Andrew, call to offer airplane sale, purchase services. So, Adam, what are your thoughts here? Because, by the way, while I'm going through this, Prince Andrew, first person in the royal family to get arrested in 400 years.
He's not even he's just Andrew right now.
Well, he was. He's no longer.
Yeah, he's just Andrew.
But he's part of the royal family. So first time in 400 years. So something's going on with this story. No one's gotten arrested in the States yet.
And that needs to change.
That needs to change. Rob, is this him talking about Prince Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Go for it, Rob.
I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out from the last 3 million pages.
Adam.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the part that nobody's talking about. It's systemic, this problem with these young women that are showing up. Because who is this guy, Les Wexner? He's the founder of L Brands, right? What does L Brands own? Victoria's Secret. So if you know anything about the modeling industry, and I've interviewed how many hundreds, if not thousands of models, the industry starts with 15 and 16-year-old girls who get signed to a major agency, and then they're walking on runways, and then they're a part of this world. So we want to go, the noise is what's going on Epstein Island. The reality is, how did they even get invited? How are all these women, how are these 16, 17-year-old women even in this world? It's because They start out as models at such a young age, 16 years old. By the way, side note, 35 states in America, the age of consent is 16, not 18. 18 here in Florida. So I'll take you this. I told Vinny this story. I was covering this Miami Swim Week. This was this summer. And my friends throw these events, you know, model volleyball. We've been there. All the most gorgeous women in the world, yada, yada, yada. The main girl who's like the last person to go on stage, she does this big hurrah, everyone claps, everyone's doing their thing. And then we're all backstage. I'm talking with people, I'm talking with friends. I go, hey, great job. She goes, yeah, this is my first show. I go, that's great. I mean, how old are you? She goes, 17. I go, what are you doing here? She goes, yeah, this is my mom right here. I go, hey, mom, what's going on? I go, like, literally, why is your daughter doing that? She goes, yeah, she started when she was 15, and I go with her everywhere, and I'm her chaperone. And here I am. I have friends who are their 30s, their 40s. There's girls in their 20s. There's this one girl who's like the supermodel, 17 years old. I go, Mom, how do you let her in this world? She goes, no, this is what you have to do to get started in this world. So what I'm saying is this. What's my point? Les Wexner is the breeding ground for young women that want to be in Victoria's Secret. So he becomes friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, he's clearly into young underage women. Most of the stories you hear, the girls are between 16 and 20. I'm sure that you might have heard a story about younger women, but the majority are this age. So the bigger question is this. Why are we having 16, 17, 18-year-old women involved with grown-ass men? That's systemic to me. So if we want to stop these Epstein things from happening, it needs to start in 18 years and older and stop this 16 nonsense.
I'm going to get to Adam's point, but to piggyback off what Randy said, you make a great point. Tom Holman was just in Minnesota, and they found 3,362 missing kids from the border. No headline, just missing kids in all these places in Minnesota, and they withdrew 700 ICE agents, which I'm totally against. Also in this deposition, Jasmine Crockett was trying to get a got you moment about Trump. She asked him, I want to say 5 or 8 rapid-fire questions about Trump, and he goes, no, he wasn't there. No, he didn't do this. No, he didn't do that. And to go to your point, Adam, what's revealing, because guess what? The light is going to shine on all this. These people thought they were going to get away with it because they're at the tippity top. It's a global, elite, demonic, I'm going to say that word again, demonic organization that, Adam, you nailed it. And we're saying 16 to whatever. Once you're that pedophile, sick, disgusting person and you're on an island, who's going to sit there and be like, okay, no. Oh, you're 16 and a half? No, they like these young, underage, Adam, they love, they
do you have an ID?
Destroying the innocence of these children. That's what they get off on. So who knows how old? Because I keep seeing videos of Andrew with the little kid yesterday with the ball that has a nipple on it. All Epstein chasing little girls around. It's something deeper. It's something demonic. You make a great point. 300,000 kids went missing. Nobody said anything. Not a peep. Alejandro Mayorkas was like, the border's closed. Kamala Harris, the border's closed. The borders are. It's all BS. It was a turnstile. That border, for how many years, Randy, was a turnstile for votes, illegals, and children to get trafficked all around the freaking world. That's what it is.
And they don't want to talk about it because Donald Trump didn't do it.
1,000%. So that's it.
And who's the group that has coined the phrase MAPS? Minor attracted persons.
So gross.
So to me, it's all ridiculous. And they're trying to get Trump. We all know this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Meanwhile, pretty much everybody that was on the island is on the left of center. So they're using this as an issue to try to bring down Trump, especially in the midterms.
What picture is this, Rob?
That's Andrew. This came out yesterday. I don't know who this kid is. They're playing with the ball, and there was an actual another one as well, Pat. That's a ball, and it has a nipple on it. I don't know whose kid this is. I don't know who. It's not his. What are we talking about? And mind you, there's 3 million that we can't see. And my question is, Pat, I wanted to ask you. Andrew is the one arrest overseas. Is anybody going to get arrested here?
No way. Let me tell you what Andrew does. Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Andrew getting arrested, guess what that does? Okay. Andrew getting arrested increases the pressure on U.S. having to arrest by a mile. Let me tell you why. The average person says, what? The first country that arrested somebody is not U.S. and this guy is from U.S. and UK had the balls to arrest somebody from their family, which is absolutely humiliating, but America is not willing to arrest a billionaire? That is a very bad look for America, just so you know that. I just want you to know this. So for me, this just went from here. It's almost like a comp. You know, when in a family, somebody gets a 4-year degree. Now, what is every grandma and uncle and aunt going to say? Hey, Vinny, when are you getting your 4-year degree? Hey, Randy, when are you going to? Hey, so first person makes 6 figures. Hey, so when are you going to make? First person buys a house, cousin. Hey, when are you going to buy a house? First person gets married. So when are you going to get? First person has a kid. Adam, when are you going to have a kid? When are you going to have a kid? This is that situation now. So the U.S. has to arrest somebody. They have to do something. So I don't know who that's going to be, but do not be surprised if in the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, if somebody in the U.S. also goes through this. Do not be surprised if this happens.
I have a different opinion, if you don't mind.
I'd love to hear it. Go for it.
So I believe this is political theater in the UK, because the hypocrisy coming out of the UK. What Keir Starmer just got accused of hiring or having someone in his cabinet that was with Epstein. Okay, political theater. Why would I say something like this? Can we talk about the UK rape gangs that have been raping and pillaging your own citizens for decades? Shout out to Tommy Robinson for basically peeling the mask off what they've been covering up in their own country. So if they've done nothing about that, if they just sit there silent and be like, oh, you know, let them in. It's okay. You can rape our children. But yeah, let's get Prince Andrew. So to me, they're Scooby-Dooing this thing. They're pulling the mask off Andrew to make him escape.
Right. Two things can be right.
But correct. But until they start doing that about the UK rape gangs, and this is political theater.
This is the family. This is the royal family.
Yeah, but he's the scapegoat. This is the person that they're basically saying, you're no longer family.
400 years. By the way, 400 years. Guess what the questions become? How do you raise your kids? What did you not do as a father for your kid to do what he just did? What did you do as a father that the rest of us don't know that your son did something like this? Whether these questions are fair or not, these are questions that are going to be asked.
Sure.
400 years, this hasn't happened. This is massive for that to be taken.
But there's a difference between being arrested, being charged with something, being convicted of something. Until they charge him something and convict him of something, this seems like political theater to me.
Will he be in prison? But Adam,
let's see.
Adam, because Adam, I swear to you, I had this on there. Just to piggyback off of you, the British Parliament voted last week massively against the investigation of the child Pakistani rape gangs.
Oh, shocker.
They voted, ready for this? They blocked it, ruling Labour Party voting stopped the launch, 364-11. And guess what they said? Opponents of the inquiry argued that reopening the issue would damage the image of Muslim communities and clash with prevailing left-wing political priorities. They said, no, we're not gonna go after them because it's gonna make Muslims look bad, which is horrible. But going off what you said,
is that real life?
No, God forbid. I have it as a story.
God forbid that we tarnish the image of rapists.
But here's my question:
that's horrible.
Does Andrew actually, Pat, do any meaning behind bars for being with underage girls? Does he actually? Because an arrest is an arrest. He sits in the car. We get the picture. It's political theater up to that point. Does he see prison? Because at the end of the day, Pat, these people need to be behind bars. Period. Underage kids, you know where I stand. Jail.
Like a Diddy prison.
Well, like a Diddy. I want years. However, whatever their statutes are over there, that's the only way. Because guess what? Arrest him. Bill Gates, naughty. You gave your wife an STD, allegedly, and slipped her drugs and okay, whatever. He's a disgusting human being. But the pandemic emails, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do? Where's the pilot after 9/11? Type of stuff.
I think the part about the rape gangs in UK, I think that pressure of going the way they're going, eventually it's going to break. They don't have a choice. Eventually it's going to break. It may take a year, 2 years, 3 years. I think something could happen next 3 years because what speech did Rubio give at Munich? That's part of his speech. If you actually read into the speech, he is talking about the rape gangs. He's talking about what's going on in UK in his speech, right? But this, to me, if all of a sudden story comes out, Bill Gates is getting arrested, what do you think that story does? He is about to speak in India. He doesn't go there. His wife is not holding back.
Nope.
His wife is like, going, hey, you want to invite me to talk about my ex-husband? Please, yes. You're telling me she's playing offense?
Oh, Pat.
So what you're
What do
saying?
you think the chances someone like Bill Gates gets arrested?
You want to know the chances?
Yeah.
In my opinion, 20%.
You think
But
that
that's
high?
high.
With Bill
I
Gates?
do. I do.
Yeah.
I do. Look, we're currently going through 3 different lawsuits. Some issues that we dealt with the company. Every one of them is a certain behavior that they shouldn't have done. In the last 20 years, I've sued in my entire life 5 people. I'm not a litigious guy. I've been sued a lot because, hey, Vinny says something on the podcast. Boom. Hey, boom, it's the lawsuit. That part, as you get bigger, it's part of the territory. You have to understand how this works. But if you don't make an example and everybody else thinks they can do it, now you're the guy that's going to be a target. You have to make an example. I think they have to choose who they're going to make an example of. And don't forget, about 6 months ago, when Bill Gates is sitting next to Melania and the president, and we're like,
Yep.
what? Why is he there? Do you not think Bill knows what's coming? It's like, hey, I'm pro-Trump now. Oh, really? You're pro-Trump now? Are you afraid of what's happening with Epstein? I don't know. Randy, I'll give you the final thoughts on this, and we'll go to the next story.
I hope it's a lot more than one person that gets arrested. I think they all need to get arrested. And again, I think we need to not pick and choose. We need to go after the people who did what they did with these people who came across the border. And in the UK, you think it could break in the next 1 to 3 years? They also are voting to delete all of the records. That's the debate that you were talking about. They're saying we need to delete, literally the government is having a discussion, we need to delete all the evidence so no future government can come after these people. You know, and so the only thing to me arguably worse than what's going on is that these Democrats.
Is that really what they're saying?
Yes, they want. Because
Are they really, Rob, saying they want to delete the file so a future leader cannot come after them?
Well, I don't know. They said they didn't give that as their excuse.
But that's the motive.
But it was deleting the. Yeah, it was
Rob,
deleting
check
the records.
the article that Humberto just sent you.
Yeah.
It says.
Yeah, government U-turns
This is the
again
Sun.
on decision to delete huge archives of Britain's court records. Of course.
They're
trying
going to delete the records.
Right, and everybody.
There you go.
Government U-turns again.
No, okay, So maybe in the last day or two they undid it.
But
yes,
they're
trying to delete all of the records of this. I mean, this is the opposite of the Epstein thing. We're trying to bring the records out, get to what's going on.
These are 2 separate issues. These are 2 separate issues. To me, if I'm living in UK, this is a much bigger issue.
Of course.
Much bigger issue. It's something that's impacting me directly on a day-to-day basis.
I'd argue that 300,000 missing kids is a pretty big deal too. I mean,
in the states.
In the
States.
States.
No. Look, when it comes down to the immigration, the kids, stuff like that, there is no political party at that point. That's an 85% issue. That's a 90% issue. That's not a 60% issue or a 67% issue. No. But in regard to what could happen in the States, if they keep going, how close are you with Rokana and Massey and what they're doing? Are you?
I know what they're doing. I'm not.
You're not
close
on
to
their
them.
team. You're not.
No, because look at what Rokana did. He stood up and he gave 6 names, and 4 of the people were like completely innocent. There were guys who'd been brought in for some sort of lineup. They had nothing to do with the Epstein files, and he made them all look like pedophiles. So I'm not a huge fan of how they've gone about this. They're getting people in trouble who had nothing to do with this. And again, they were there in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2020. What bothers me, the Epstein thing is unspeakable evil. But what bothers me as much is why didn't you care about unspeakable evil?
How much did you put on Bondi? The way Bondi handled it.
I mean, look, she's been there for a year. At least this is coming out under her. Why don't we put it under her predecessor at DOJ under Biden? They did nothing. They did nothing. Why are we should look at Epstein, absolutely. But we should also look at why did no one care? He died, I think, in 2019. Like what you're talking about with Wexner happened in 1996. I mean, why aren't we going after the left and saying, why didn't you care when you were in charge? We should care, but we should have cared then. I wasn't in Congress then, so you can't blame me. I'm in Congress now, and I voted to release all the files. But why didn't they care in 2021 and 2022 and 2023 and 2024? And why don't they care about the 300,000 illegal immigrants who came across the border? And why don't they care about the grooming gangs in the UK? It's because to them, they don't care at all. This is about politics. They don't care about the kids who were hurt. I care about all of them.
That's a fair argument. I'm convinced you're about to see something. I'm convinced you're about to see something. U.S. has to go after somebody.
Absolutely.
They have to. They don't have a choice. They have to go after somebody.
That's what they need to do. They need to accuse Ayatollah Khomeini of being in the Epstein files.
Well, by the
know.
way, do you know there are claims that there are claims of him dealing allegedly with young boys and
I've heard
early
that
on
too.
being criticized of being gay early on in his career. Khamenei, true claims of
Really?
him. So
To me, that's like at the bottom of the list
yeah.
of the scummy things that guy's done.
well, then let's go into that. Let's talk about Iran. What's going on over there, Rob? What clips do you have on Iran? I got a bunch of them here that's sitting in front of me. Which ones do you want to go with first? So
right here, the president yesterday at the Board of Peace meeting where he talked about coming to a nuclear deal with Iran
Go
and
for it.
giving them 10 days.
go for it.
And one of the keys to it was when we took those beautiful, magnificent, we just ordered 22 more of them, updated model. The B-2 bombers are incredible. I never understood the B-2 bomber. I'd watch, it's a wing. And I've never quite understood that, Johnny. I'd look at it, I'd say, it was beautiful, but what does it do? It carries very big bombs. And it went into Iran, and it totally decimated the nuclear potential. And when it did, when it decimated that, all of a sudden we had peace in the Middle East because there was a black cloud hanging over the Middle East. And if that wasn't done, that cloud would have been there. And countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like Qatar, countries like, nobody could have signed. You would have had that threat. Nobody could have had, you couldn't have
Rob,
peace.
does he
in the
say
Middle
10
East.
days Iran or no?
So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
He waits till the last second to say
I
10
love it
days.
'cause he's
gotta
got
love him.
you.
He's so 10 days. Iran is going to find out. Randy, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, I think they've got two choices. They're going to lose the nuclear weapons and they're going to lose the intercontinental ballistic missiles one way or the other. They can either give it up on their own or they can take it away. And this is why people need to care about this. I said it before. We all know nuclear weapon bad, but why intercontinental ballistic missile? Iran has all the rockets they need if all they want to do is attack Israel. They proved that a few months ago. And frankly, they have all the rockets they need if they wanted to attack Europe. Why do they need an intercontinental ballistic missile? That's a missile that goes far. The reason is so they have the ability to attack the United States. So why are they spending billions of dollars to create that missile? It isn't for Israel and it isn't for Europe. It's for us. And we can't allow that to happen. And here's why this is so important. Imagine a world where the mullahs were gone. Iran, as you know as well as anyone, was an extraordinary place before they took power, and an incredible culture and a great people. So it's not as though you'd replace one bad group of people with another bad group of people. You'd replace one bad group of people with a group of great people. And no government has done more to harm America than these guys have. They're the reason we had the war in Gaza. They did the things in Beirut. They've launched terrorism operations all over the world. Imagine how much better off the world would be with a mullah-free Iran.
So the question becomes the following. And I mean, look, U.S. sends over 50 fighter jets to the Middle East and military buildup against Iran, okay? And we've seen this. Rob, is that the clip or is that a...
This is President Trump's warning to Iran.
Go for it.
Documents. Yeah, please. Yeah,
He
please.
said today on Iran, bad things will happen if
Yeah,
Iran
bad
doesn't
things,
make
really
the
bad
deal.
things.
What will that
I'm not going to talk to you about that.
No, what is the goal if there is a U.S. military
Well, we're
strike?
going to make a deal, or we're going to get a deal one way or the other.
But with a military strike, is it to wipe out their nuclear
I'm not
program?
going to talk to you about that, but we're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
And you said today 10 days. Have you given them a deadline firm to make a deal?
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
Pause it right there. Okay. So U.S. military has moved over 50 fighter jets to the Middle East last 24 hours as a buildup of air and naval assets near Iran. Axios reported on Tuesday, citing a U.S. official, a host of F-16, F-22, F-35 jets were observed heading to the Middle East by independent flight trackers. Is he given the same update, Rob, or is he saying anything different than what I said?
No, pretty much same thing you
Okay.
said.
So then if that's the case, and that's what's going on, here's the concern. I tweeted a couple of days ago, and I said something about surprise and unpredictability. At any point, something could happen. Don't be surprised if that takes place. Yeah, real power doesn't telegraph punches. It lets the enemy breathe. It lets the media speculate. Then it strikes without notice. Translation, the world could wake up to Iran to U.S. finishing what it started with Iran, brace for impact. So, but the fair criticism that some people have, who they're worried about, they don't want to see Afghanistan 2.0. They don't want to see another big war. So, you know, your opinion, thoughts, any one of you guys can take this. If you want to take that, I'll come to you.
I want to know what Randy and what you guys all think. So we go in there and we bomb again, okay? But what's the goal? The revolution that happened that's kind of cooled down because they killed 40,000 people in a couple of days. The goal is the people want to be free from these leaders. They don't want the IRGC, who's obviously Khomeini's, you know, lapdogs. So if we go in there, Randy, how strategically bombing, I get rid of the nukes, okay. But what about the infrastructure? Meaning, if Khomeini's dead, all of his generals and everybody are still going to be answering to him. How? Cause I think personally they don't have a leader set up for us. I don't want to say install, but like Reza Pahlavi, the prince, he doesn't want to go there. How? It's strategically. How would you go in there and bomb and then afterwards say, okay, we're going to put in, or this person's going to be the leader. Now, everybody in this military, you got to follow that guy. I think that's a very difficult situation.
And I think that's why the president has been so thoughtful in doing this, and it hasn't happened very quickly. But look, everyone had this same concern in Venezuela as well. Oh my gosh, we're going to have another big old war. It was done and over before most people even realized it happened. Same thing with bombing in Iran, the nuclear development sites a few months ago. So they have a plan. The concern is real. People should always be worried about what is the long-term effect. But I think the ultimate goal is in Iran that can't kill, by some estimations, 40,000 people over a couple of days because they want freedom. That should be something we all want to happen, because think about how many people Iran has killed. Think about what a threat to the world. And think about how great it would be for the world if we had an Iran that wanted to be part of the world community. Iran should be an incredibly wealthy country. They have all this oil. It would be great for the Iranian people. It would be great for the Middle East. It would be great for the world. So the president is taking the time because he's basically saying we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. And the reason there's all those military assets there is to send the message that, you know, Donald Trump doesn't mess around. And so hopefully by having maximum pressure, they don't have to attack. The issue is, I think Iran will say anything, oh, let's keep talking, because what they want to do is try to wait him out. He's got 3 more years as president. If they can keep negotiating for 3 years, maybe the next person isn't as hardcore on him. So he's got to get this done.
I love the fact that he said, you have 10 to 15 days.
Yeah.
Period. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You don't want to do it? We're coming. By the way, this is the largest deployment of military that we've gone since 2003, I believe. This is the large. So it's not like it's a small thing we're doing.
But my question is this, and I agree with the bomb. If your slogan is death to America, this is coming from a guy that was in the United States Air Force that worked at an ICBM nuclear missile site. I don't want them to have nukes. But my thing is the people. Those 40,000, the people that are still in the streets where my mom and dad and his freaking whole family are from, with all the, get rid of that. But the people, what's going to happen to them? They need somebody. They need some type of, going into bombing, I'm 1,000%, get rid of their nuclear arsenal or their capabilities. But it's the people. It's the people. Because think about it. The IRGC is still going to be loyal to Khomeini. You can't go in there and tell the military, hey, guys, switch. Now it's this guy, because those people are still in the streets. They're still they're still dying. Anybody speaking up, athletes, whatever, they're torturing them. By the way, that's 40,000 that died in 2 days. Randy, you realize there's thousands in the prisons that they're saying that they're in prison. They're probably gone too. So that's my only concern, is the people. We have to worry about them because they're the ones that started this whole revolution, right, Tom?
Yes, there are 2 things going on here. One, the people are crying for freedom. They went out and they protested and they were slaughtered for it. And whether it's 35, 32, or 40,000, you know, it's disgusting. It's horrifying on one side. Topic 1. Topic 2 is they're arming themselves. ICBMs are being designed and tested. And by the way, if the Iranians don't think Trump was serious, I'll tell you 2 countries that do think Trump was serious. That was China and Russia, because the test firings of the missiles that we saw over there was a joint military action, and it included Chinese ships and Russian ships. So you've got Chinese ships and Russian ships with this joint naval exercise here. Look at the caution that the president has to have here. If you're going to go do something, you've got the opportunity here to engage a Chinese or Russian war vessel. That's bad. But what you have to do is you have to disassemble, as Trump said, 15 days, we're going to get a deal one way or another. And Trump has been very careful to say, and then there's one way that's got consequence that they don't want. He was very clear about that. And so people need to pay attention to what's going on here, because Russia and China are puppeteers in the background, and that's a joint military action going on there. At the same time, the largest buildup, as you correctly, I looked at it, Pat, you're right, the largest buildup since 2003.
Yeah, this is not some small. So the criticism is a fair criticism that the administration is getting. By the way, Rob, can you pull up the poll you just did? I love this poll. I love this poll. Don't pull it up. Let me ask them. Rob asked the question. Do you support a U.S. strike on Iran? What do you think the percentage is? Yes, no. Very simple. Our
yes or
audience.
no?
What do you think it is?
Mixed.
65% yes.
Our audience, 40% yes.
I'm going to go 80.
80% yes?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say sort of 50-50.
50-50? Okay, Rob, go to it. I'm actually very surprised by this. And look at
wow,
that.
60.
60-40. Jake, you said 60-40. 60-40. So when and the reason why I bring this up, and Adam, I'll come to you, is, look, if they go in and they do it in a way where they did Venezuela,
yes,
and then they go to an election where the people elect somebody, then they're able to go. I got a call from a guy from ex-DOJ, ex-Department of State guy, and a friend who we've had on a podcast before. He was an agent before, CIA, and we spoke. And he says, there's an organization called, maybe I'm not saying the name correctly, you can correct me on this, called Rewards for Justice, okay? And Rewards for Justice, what they do is these are guys that go in, they're trying to take out the main head, the leader. They go to the direct 6-7 guys that they have to go, and they give them a payday. This could be $10, $5, $50 million. It's a real payday that those guys are getting. And they turn them against the main person here. So say you have to do this with 7. You don't think that happens? I think fully that happens. I think John Perkins talked about it in his book. What was it called? Right?
Economic Hitman.
Economic Hitman, and he did that many, many years ago. They go and say, hey, you're either taking this or we're killing you. Which one do you want to do?
I'll take it.
So to me, I think if it's done that way and it flips and you go in, you do election fairly quickly, somebody comes in, you have to trust the systems are being ran tightly. Who's going to monitor that? It's still a lot of gray area that anything is possible. So that the criticism of how do we know for a fact this is going to work? You know what the real answer is? We don't. But guess what we do know? What's the alternative? Don't do it. What do you think they want to do? You think Iran wakes up in the morning saying they love you? You think Iran wakes up in the morning saying, hey, yeah, we love America.
Yeah, right.
Let's become diplomatic. Don't get it twisted. So you're both, you could be right that nothing happens and it's a failure of a mission. But sitting around not doing anything is also what I don't want to see. I don't want to see a $3 trillion weapons of mass destruction. That I don't think anybody wants to see that in America. Adam.
Well, I got to give shout out to our audience, and why they're right is because they have eyes and memory and data. Because who do you trust more at this point? It's Trump. The alarmists, he's going to cause World War III. That never happened. The stock market's going to, that's all-time highs. Oh, he's a dictator. There's no King's rally. There's data after data of Trump doing things the right way. There's no data that Trump's going to get us in some 20-year foreign entanglement with Iran. He's going to get in and get out. That's number one. Number two, Vinny said, death to America. They've been shouting this for 46 years. Maduro, one time goes, come and get me. Boom, they got you, buddy. So what do you think he wants to do with Iran at this point? After yelling death to America, death to Israel, death to the UK, death to the West.
There is one big difference,
What's that?
And the difference is the Don-Monroe doctrine. This is the hemisphere.
Touché.
That is not your hemisphere. So to me,
Touché, but he's already bombed Iran.
Yeah.
He's already took out Soleimani.
Sure.
So if there's anybody that understands the threat of radical Islamic extremism, it's Donald Trump. He's the guy that did the Muslim ban. And I'm not even saying that was a great decision. I'm just saying Trump has been talking about Islamic extremism for decades. Even beginning with 9/11. Last point here,
Oh my God!
This just happened.
They struck down the
this
tariffs.
was going to
Vin.
happen.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God, Tom! Did you just see that?
Yeah, it's 6-3. I haven't seen the list of judges, but 6-3 has to mean that Comey and Roberts joined the three.
Like, what the hell are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? We're winning, and it's working. And look at what we want to talk about the deep state. That's it right there.
So major breaking: the U.S. Supreme Court has just struck down President Trump's tariff authority 6-3.
Terrible.
Supreme Court just wrecked our country. One of the biggest economic comebacks in the world history. Just
What
thrown
the
into.
hell?
By the way,
Incinerator.
Neil
What a shame.
Gorsuch joined
Play the clip,
liberal
Rob? Play
majority.
the clip. Are they saying anything, or is it just an update?
I have not been able to
Oh,
check it
go-
out.
let's just see the first 10 seconds.
We do. We've got a very fractured opinion, but initially what it says, we know it's authored, the primary
I just want to
opinion
know who
by the
voted
Chief
against it, Tom.
Justice,
Did you pull it
and
up?
says essentially that this
Has to
IEPA,
be Amy
this law that grants
Comey.
the president
He said
emergency
Gorsuch.
powers did not, it looks like by this first blush reading by Justice, the Chief Justice here, does not
Roberts.
give him the
Roberts.
power to
He wrote it.
levy these tariffs that
Roberts,
he's
Coney
levied.
Barrett, and
Part of this
Gorsuch.
initial opinion says the words regulate and
Thomas Alito and
importation. The
Kavanaugh
president says
dissented.
that gives him the independent power to impose tariffs on imports from any country, any product, any rate, any time. These words, it says, cannot bear such weight.
How's the
we
market
know we got a
reacted to it, Rob?
dissent by Justice Kavanaugh.
Just go to the market. How's the market
I'll tell
reacting
you right
to it?
now,
Is it
sir.
an immediate uptick?
Unbelievable.
It's an immediate uptick. Interesting.
Uptick in the market. Interesting.
Not by a lot.
Not by a lot, but let's just see if it just happened in the last
30
11
minutes.
So
30
when did
30
this
minutes.
happen, Rob?
30 minutes ago.
This happened, this update about tariffs is how long ago? Did it just happen right now, or was it 30 minutes
I saw
ago?
like 12 minutes was when it
Everything I see, the first release, Pat, was 10:02 a.m.
half an
Eastern.
hour.
Yep,
Ha-
that's
half
about
hour
25
ago.
minutes ago.
Okay, guys, then the market's reacting to this. That's what the market's reacting to. Because the market was flat, 49,280, and then it went up 300. It went all the way up to 40. Yeah. So,
Why would the markets go up based
well,
on this
you have to
news?
realize there are some
Yeah.
people that are feeling like that pinch that they were paying the because the additional, they see it as a tax, as the way they're
Short term.
so a short-term tax that they were paying on this. This is one of those things I do not like. Listen, I was with Rand Paul, and I asked him the question, and I said, Rand, why does the president keep bringing up the fact that if the Supreme Court rules against tariffs, why does he keep saying that? He says, because it's most likely going to rule against the tariffs.
Yeah,
he said
he
this
did
3
say
weeks ago. Remember that when I came back and I shared that? Yeah, so interesting. Tom, what do you think is going to happen next?
So I'll tell you what I think is going to happen, but I'll add this. CNN is reporting that Neil Gorsuch joined Roberts and Barrett in the moderate opinion, joining the liberals. So Neil Gorsuch, appointed by Trump, is one of the judges that voted, making it 6-3, not 5-4. I was expecting 5-4 because I was expecting Comey and Roberts to sit on the moderate middle where they've been. So what this means, I trust Scott Bessent. And Scott Bessent said there are other tools that they can use to negotiate. I think there's going to be a lot of celebration. Oh, we defeated Trump and stuff. But you got to go back and look. There's a lot of trade deals, several trade deals that were key that got done because the tariffs were there. And tariffs were coming back. Just yesterday, Japan said they were investing $30 or $40 billion in the U.S. in a natural gas power plant in Ohio, and that Trump was pulling back tariffs to 15% on certain things. And so I think that this is bad for Trump, and the mainstream media is going to run with it and say, he's been given a bloody nose by the Supreme Court. Oh, look, Neil Gorsuch has joined. It's one of his own judges. You're going to hear all that. But he used the tariffs as tactics, not taxes. They didn't turn out to be taxes. The CPI, Consumer Price Index, was 0.1 less year over year, which was just released last week. So the tariffs didn't cause the great inflation. That's not a claim. That's a statistical fact from the data coming from our own government. So I think what you're going to see here is Trump has to take different tactics to negotiate internationally, but mainstream media and the Dems are going to run with this and saying, see, I told you he was a monarch. I told you he was dictator. I told you he was wielding a red pen like a king. No kings. You're going to hear all that crap. And said, but what has really happened here is he's going to have to change his tactics. And let's remember what happened in the middle. Between now and a year ago, those tariffs were used to successfully negotiate trade agreements in the benefit of America first, not America only, but America first.
I could make another argument for what I think the president should do. I'd read this quote: "When Congress grants the power to impose tariffs, it does so clearly and with careful constraints," Roberts wrote. "It did neither here." Now, while I don't agree with that, I think the president was absolutely within his rights. What I think folks in your audience who stand with Trump need to do is they need to call people like me and say, pass a bill to give him those tariffs. What the Supreme Court is saying is not that the president can't impose
Back on
tariffs.
Congress. Yeah.
Well, what they're not saying he can't impose tariffs. They're saying he didn't have the congressional authority to impose tariffs. So we have a choice. We have a choice. And look, it may make us blow up the filibuster in the Senate, but we do have a slight majority in the House.
Please do.
And we do have a slight majority in the Senate. And so we, as a Congress, can choose to give him that power, because what President Trump has done is he has brought in an extraordinary amount of money to the country in the form of these tariffs, which really are just sales taxes on foreign goods. He's reduced the trade deficit. He's making people invest in this country. He's bringing down the deficit, and he is using it as to wield other people. And what the Supreme Court's not doing is saying other countries can't tariff us.
Exactly.
And that is what is apparently everyone thinks tariffs are a great idea when China and Europe and everyone else does it to the United States, but it's the worst idea in the world when we do it back. So I think what people ought to be doing is picking up the phone, calling their congressman and say, fine, if the Supreme Court says the president doesn't have the power, then you all give it to him.
Can you imagine if you are a leader of China or Iran or Russia, you know what you're saying? You know, it's kind of like, remember when Mayweather was fighting Pacquiao or whoever it was, he would say, go talk to your boss. Go talk to your boss. Go talk to Bob Arum. Go talk to Don. I don't have to talk to anybody. I'm my own boss. These places like China and Russia are going to sit there and say, you think you have power? Ha, ha, ha. We're going to put tariffs on you. No, you're not. So then the question becomes the following. Is for somebody who moves as quickly as an operator, as a capitalist that competes in free enterprise, and a founder, guess what you like? You like that you can make a decision, what? Very quickly versus slowly. And I got to go through the process of all this other stuff. This is why some people prefer working for a small business ran by a founder than working for a corporation ran by committees and a bunch of different people. So, Tom, Randy, this kind of comes to you guys. Do you think he is now going to sit there and say, because you know how Trump is, he's going to be like, oh, okay, no problem. You know, it's kind of like when a father, the kid says, you can't put your hands on me. I will go tell the school. And the teacher says, oh, really? No problem. Take the TV, take the video games, take everything we have out of the house, put it in the garage. Go ahead, son. Go ahead, honey. Give me the car keys. Give me your cell phone. You're right. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to put you on because you're going to go tell school. Go tell school I took your phone, your iPad, your computer, your video games, your TV away from you. So what is that now? Because he's wired like that.
Of course.
Is it now sanctions? Is it now, hey, if anybody does business with Huawei, if anybody does business with this, is that the thing? Or is he going to need to get is he going to need to get the help from Congress to do sanctions, or can he do that himself?
I think there's two things. I think he has other tools in the tool chest.
Such as what?
He can limit who we do business with.
Does he need your approval?
No, not for certain things. There are other tools in the tool chest to manage trade, so he's got other tools. But I think it's a two-part path. I think he should use those tools, and I think he should come to us and say, "Give me the power." I would give him the power. What's extraordinary about this, and what's so disappointing, is this is working. This has been they said, oh, it'll kill economic growth. We've doubled the economic growth we got under Biden. They said it'll drive inflation. We've got half the inflation that we had under Biden. All this is something that has made trade with the United States fair. I don't even know why we call them tariffs. What they are is they are sales taxes on foreign goods. That's what they are. We charge sales taxes on just about everything. And so I think we need to give the president the power to redo this, but I think he'll have other tools in the tool chest. It's just disappointing. It's like, why, when America's standing itself back up, do people have to slap it down?
Well, that's my question is, Randy, why would even the Republican, why would you vote to harm us, like to subvert what he's doing? What's the ideology behind it? Because they know the numbers, they see what the hell is happening. What would make somebody like Comey Barrett and Roberts do that. I don't get it.
I have no idea. I haven't read it. We've been sitting here, but I mean, they may just have some deeply held emotional belief that the statutory authority is not there. I would point out the 3 others disagreed and clearly felt that it was there. What I think is it's disappointing, and I think we should give the president the power
Rob,
to
can
do
you
it.
go to Adam? I'll come to you right after this. Rob, can you go to Section 232 tariffs? Go to Section 232 tariffs. I think he's probably going to lean on this. Zoom in a little bit.
It's a Trade Expansion Act of 1962.
Exactly. Of 1962, the president can impose tariffs or restrictions on imports deemed to threaten national security based on Commerce Department investigations. So they may go to this. Can you also go to Section 301 tariffs? Section 301 tariffs.
These are the other tools.
Yeah, these are the other tools.
Of the Trade Act of 1974.
Yeah, so this is 1974. Are ongoing duties imposed by the USTR on Chinese imports, often 7.5% or 25% or higher, to counteract unfair trade practices like intellectual property theft as of early 2026. These tariffs remain in effect, and some rates increasing on strategy sectors such as the biggest concern with the tariffs. He said, well, we got all these deals that we're doing with tariffs, and it was like small countries, like everybody wants to hear the one country, and that's what? China. So what things he can use against China? There is plenty of stuff to use the threat of national security against China. Adam, your thoughts?
So I'm going to give a different perspective because obviously we're not happy about this, and we were all fan of what's going on with the tariffs and what everything's going on with Lutnick. But let me try to turn that frown upside down because Trump's a brilliant marketer. So I'm thinking of ways he can turn, lemons into lemonade. So do you think that there's people on the left cheering for this right now?
Of course.
Of course. Okay. Absolutely.
So let's think of some ways that he can combat that. You call me a fascist, you call me a dictator, you're doing no king's protest. Well, here's Exhibit A of checks and balances and the rule of law in our country. Even if you thought I was one, sorry, we have a Supreme Court that basically told me I can't do this. So your whole notion that I'm a fascist dictator, that's out the window. Congratulations, guys. So that's one thing right there. I will add this. If this were 5-4, that could get ugly. The fact that it's 6-3 and there's someone like Neil Gorsuch that's like, you know what? Maybe this does need to go through Congress. Maybe there's a rule of law. Maybe Trump did overreach here. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. This would be way uglier if this were 5-4. The fact that it's 6-3 means that Trump needs to just go back to the drawing board and say, all right, guys, what do we want to do here? I think he has a great team around him. I think America's doing great right now. How can we make America even greater? Reinventing the tariffs. That's just my quick thoughts.
You have to look at the Supreme Court very carefully. The Supreme Court rules narrowly on narrow issues. The Supreme Court is not typically about it. Now, do they debate them? Is there a Solicitor General involved and they bring these things forward and they hear arguments and they go on for a while before they reach a decision? Yes, that's the court function. But when the opinions are read out, they generally tend to be narrow. And they'll even say, but we don't see this and we don't see that. This was a narrow opinion that said, Trump did not have the authority to wield his pen for tariffs the way he did without congressional approval. It didn't say tariffs are bad. It didn't say tariffs can't be used. And Besant, as early as November of last year, I looked this up last night, November of 2025, Besant was quoting the 2 points that Pat just brought up, the other ways to do it. And he said, those are more cumbersome, but they get the same effect when you're dealing with international trade. And guess what? International trade, we want a president with a fast pen. But this does not mean that he is castrated on negotiating internationally. He's not. And it merely says that there's other tools that have to be swung here. And to everyone that is criticizing and saying, oh, no kings and all this crap, shut up. Yeah. You're not looking at the data that what has happened over the course of the last year, and as recently as yesterday with Japan putting a natural gas power plant to reduce the price of electricity in Ohio. And electricity seems to be a hot topic going into the elections because of data centers creating excess demand and then providers of electricity raising prices in response to demand. So here's a president touching on the affordability crisis with a deal with Japan, and then today you're going to see the liberals and the mainstream media cheering disappearing as if they've taken the crown off the king. It really is disappointing. I understand the Supreme Court's decision. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not on the court. And their narrow interpretation was he did not have the authority to put the tariffs in place the way he did without congressional approval. That's all they're saying.
Well said.
Well, who brings that? Well, first of all, who's sitting there going, okay, we're winning. Let's bring this to freaking the Supreme Court. Now, you don't know what I'm talking about? The $150 billion tariff refund that we might have to pay back to all these people. And then they're going to go after him because now we're going to go back even worse debt and worse thing and worse problems.
How did this get done? Read that headline, Vinny. Tell
Trump
me how
says
that got done.
Japan to invest in energy, industrial projects in Ohio, Texas, and Georgia. How much is this worth, Rob? What's the potential?
36
36 billion. It's like, bro, this guy's been in since the day he came in, it's just been a fight.
This is 36 of the 550. They still have another 520 to
Pat,
go.
let me add one thing.
And 90% of this, Pat, is power, electricity.
Let me bring up the China thing, if you may. Look, democracy's ugly. And we're seeing things played out. We're seeing how the sausage is made. Let me flip it on you. You're either going to have a U.S.-led world or a China-led world. So here in America, we're fighting over the fact that Supreme Court, they're ruling down Trump. Oh, my God, what's going to happen? Meanwhile, in China, breaking news, how Xi basically purged his big brother to achieve absolute power, and he's basically going and purging people that even look at him the wrong way. So, yes, this is ugly in America, Supreme Court. We have checks and balances and rules and justice in our country. Flip it on China.
And
she will just murder you or kill you. God forbid what you're going to do in Iran. So pick your poison. I'm going to pick the American poison all day.
They don't have a Supreme Court to tell him he can't do it.
So by the way, so the Supreme Court 6-3, not 5-4. Okay. I heard what Tom said. I heard what Adam said. I'm not going to repeat it. But I got a question. Let's say Supreme Court was, is it 6-3 right now, conservatives? Is that what the structure is right now? Okay.
On paper.
On paper. Fine.
Comey and Roberts have been moderate for a year and a half.
Fair. But let's just say go to 2024 when they try to get him off the ballot in Colorado. 2023 when they try to get him off the ballot in Colorado.
And Maine.
This is the question I want to ask. If the Supreme Court was 6-3, do you think they would have voted liberal, 6 liberal, 3 conservatives? Do you think they would have voted to remove Trump from the ballot in Colorado? Be very
good question.
Unemotional. Do you think they would have voted for him to be removed, or they would have said, no, this is not constitutional?
We can look up how most of these people were on the court then. We can see how they voted. And that might
they didn't vote for it. But remember, it's 6-3, so they voted it out.
You're
and
saying
it was
hypothetical.
gone. I'm saying pick 6 liberal Supreme Court justices, 3 conservatives. How do you think, Tom, that would have gone? Okay, 6 liberal, 3 conservatives. Do you think they would have removed them off the ballot?
I think that there's a danger in a liberal court because I'll answer it. Yes, I think that's a very real possibility because liberal justices have shown themselves to legislate from the bench, and the conservative constitutional judges have shown themselves to focus on interpreting the Constitution and getting down to yes/no answers on a narrow issue. I think if it was liberal court, Pat, there's a danger that could have happened.
Here's the risk. Look at some of these judges like Boasberg and some of the insane rulings that some of these leftist judges have made since Trump has gotten in. I think if those people ended up on the Supreme Court, it's a real risk. This is not a good thing, but I also don't think we should lose our minds about it because Trump does have other options, and I think people need to get mad and they need to call their congressman and say, give him whatever authority he needs. These are good. These were working. But it is disappointing. I want to believe that the Republican justices did what they thought was right in their hearts under the law, and they just simply think the president didn't have that power. I don't agree, and I will give him the power if it's up to me.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer your question. I think if I'm going to be an ideologue, I would say, no way would they do something like that. You know, the laws of our country, no way would they. We're supposed to be nonpartisan. But if I'm going to give a realistic answer, I would say, yeah, they would probably do that because
think about that.
TDS does not stop at just the common person. It bleeds into Congress and business leaders and even judges and even Supreme Court judges.
But, you know, you made an interesting point about China, though, and I meant to build on it. So much of the division that not only they have no division, so much of the division we have in our country right now is paid for by them?
Yeah.
Who do you think funds the No Kings protest? Who do you think
Neville
funds?
Singham in
who
Hong
do you think
Kong.
funds the people who harass me when I'm walking through the
Qatar.
Capitol? I mean, a lot of it is Chinese money, and so they not only allow no discussion, they are fomenting discord in the country. Remember when we had all those encampments on college campuses and everyone had the same tent?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, who do you think's paying for all of that? They are doing
George
it to
Soros,
divide us.
Qatar,
There's a few
enemies.
suspects, but China's one of them.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so, well, if you think about it, the last time Trump was in and Trump was going hard with China with trade, what happened? What happened? A freaking virus came out of a lab from China and destroyed everybody.
Vinny, it was a wet market.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all know that it came from a pangolin that mixed with a monkey that made out.
I believe in this is my opinion.
Sweet and sour
that was
bat was dangerous.
all set up to get the president out, and the deep state was with him. And these are the same type of people. Adam, you talked about China and him looking.
And he
at
would have
people.
won. He would have won.
100% he would have won. They
absolutely.
needed. They needed
Think
that.
look at how close, even with all the cheating, it was.
Of course.
Imagine if there hadn't been COVID.
Of course.
There's no
and,
question.
And then Adam, you're talking about with China, and if they look at him wrong, and they, by the way, the courts here, they use him. They tried to kill the president. You talking about purging and looking. They tried to shoot him in the head, which they got him in the ear. They tried to have that psycho Ryan Ralph go after him, who's doing life now for going after. There's other tactics, and you're right. This isn't like, oh my God, huge, but we're winning. And since 2016, if it's not the left, it's even the Republicans that are in there in the deep state are just trying to subvert the will of what this is what we voted for. I voted for him to be that guy. He's a boss. Go do your job. Deport more people. Deport the illegals. I'm mad that they're slowing down in Minnesota and withdrawing down. I'm mad. Like, what the hell are we talking about right now? We're trying to win. We're trying to get level back to even from what this past 4 years of, I don't even want to call it Biden, Rand. It wasn't Biden. It's all the people that were around him. Okay, to me, it was the Obama in the basement with the earpiece.
Yeah.
It's like every time we
And
take
Blinken.
3 steps forward, we're taking 2 steps back.
All right, so
Pisses me off, bro.
Listen,
Guys, we're pissing Vinny off today.
I'm sorry.
We don't need an angry
You have the
patriot
right
today.
to be angry.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So,
I appreciate it.
by the way, listen, Randy. You know, go contact your congressman. Say, hey, let's bring a vote. But at the same time, you know, I know the mindset of a driver. Driver doesn't like slow speed, and all this does is delay speed. And China is sitting there saying yes, yes. He doesn't have as much authority and power. Matter of fact, if you were a rage baiting guy, okay, and you really wanted to get under their skin, you know what you could whisper? There's so many things you can whisper at the next event when you see them. Oh, there's so many things you can whisper to the president. But the president's creative, with a very good memory and a strong team. I have a feeling we're about to hear some very creative angles.
Let me give you a shout out. What are the chances, literally or figuratively, that they had their next 5 moves planned?
They do.
Right? They're not like, what? Where'd this come from? They've been planning for this.
Yeah, because worked with Soros for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
Soros is one of the most deceptive, creative minds in the economy. This guy would destroy the currency of countries, is what he would do.
Brought down the Bank of
You don't
England.
think he knows any? So they have the right brains, is what I'm
They
saying.
didn't get caught on their off
just to
guard here.
piggyback,
They're ready for
When's
this.
the next time Trump is going to be in a room with all these justices?
Next
When?
week.
Next week.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Think about that. State of the Union is coming
Yeah.
up. He's going to walk in. What is he going to say to them? Oh my
What a
God.
room to be in the press
Some
with
of them,
and ask
some of them,
questions
some
with.
of them
and-
don't come. Some of them actually don't come. They're not obligated to be there.
But
Some
was,
of
were
them.
they at the I think they were for the Biden. Were they there for
Remember
the
Well,
when
the
Biden
rules are
kinda
always
undressed
different when
them
Democrats
and
are in
they
charge.
sat
But,
there?
but they don't actually have to
They don't
come.
have to come.
So
Well,
who knows whether they will?
Let's go talk about another guy who, let's just say his favorite movie is not the 101 Dalmatians. Zoran Mamdani, admin, New York City mayor, unveils record $127 billion budget, up from a whopping 11. Is this serious, Rob? The numbers they're saying up $11 billion?
Yep.
From this guy, New York is losing jobs to Texas now. Mamdani's tax push will worsen exodus. New York Post story came out with this article talking about what's happening. California lost $1 trillion twice in the last 5 years. One, the COVID exodus. Now this, the wealth tax exodus of $1 trillion leaving. And so New York is about to get their second $1 trillion exodus if they continue this way. Let me read this to you. New York is losing thousands of jobs to pro-business Texas, and Mamdani's push to raise corporate tax would only accelerate the exodus. An analysis released Tuesday by the Big Apple top corporate advocacy group claims the report issued by the Partnership of New York concludes that the Lone Star State low-tax pro-growth policies are successfully recruiting corporations that diverting jobs from Wall Street, firms fed up with Gotham's high taxes, business hostile policies. It goes into a whole breaking down all the numbers. While New York's financial services industry still remains productive, generating $330 billion in gross regional product in 2021, 71% more than Texas. Texas financial service sector grew faster over the last decade, with GP rising 121% compared to 72%. I can give a bunch of other stats. Tom, your thoughts on this one, Mamdani?
So I'm going to explain something first. I'm going to set aside, and everybody, criticizes me for how I pronounce Madman's last name. Mad Manny is there in New York, and he has done the following. Let me explain it in some simplistic terms. Let's say your 16-year-old sister gets a visa for the first time. Okay. And she lives with your two parents who are still married, and she runs up a bill of $1,000. Okay. She can't pay that. And technically, that debt goes to the parents.
Yep.
The parents have to pay that visa off because she's not 18, and they kind of co-sign for that little checking account.
Yep.
So this $1,000 is now paid by the parents. The parents come to the end of the month and say, wow, we don't have money either, but we just had to pay this. And they go and they take out some of the HELOC, the home equity line of credit. Okay, follow that? Yep. So ultimately, the parents end up in debt. Watch. States get money from the government when they have natural disasters or they have horrible deficits. And they come to people like Representative Fine and they lobby to get that money, to get relief, to get grants, to get whatever it is. The cities put stress on their state governments all the time, especially blue cities. And, Mamdani has been spending the last week trying to put pressure on Hochul. Yes. Over this money. So Mamdani is the 16-year-old girl that ran up the Visa card. Hochul is the parents, and the United States is the HELOC. He is trying to get what he wants to put all this money for immigrants and all the programs he wants.
Is he going to?
Well, I think what is happening here is it has exploded really quick. I think he felt he had a mandate. And I don't think he realized that his margin of victory was decisive in the election, but not unanimous among the citizens.
It was also a lie. It was also a lie. Turns out free stuff isn't free. And that's a big part of the issue. I don't think he will be able to get those taxes raised. I don't think Kathy is going to be willing to lose her election in order to pay off.
To game of chicken with her.
Yeah, but I think she loses her election if she does that massive tax increase. Look, what's crazy about all of this is even before his massive increase that he wants to do, the budget of the city of New York, is larger than the budget of the state of Florida. And we have almost 3 times as many people who live here as live in New York. The budget of the state of New York is twice the budget of Florida. So 3 times if you add the two of them together. It's crazy. And what these people don't understand is if the federal government wants to raise your taxes, you've got a few choices. You can pay them, you can go to jail, or I guess you can burn your passport and move somewhere else. But if New York does crazy stuff, you get in your car and you drive away. Right. There's probably a reason why you are an entrepreneur here in Florida. It's probably partly this. And so all this is going to do is get people to leave and come to Florida or Texas or Tennessee or other places that don't have a state income tax. And by the way, not only do we not have a state income tax, it doesn't snow here. So, think of what he's asking people to pay. They can't even pick up the garbage right now, and he wants to increase taxes. So I think it just shows how stupid of an idea it was for the people of New York to elect him, and now they've got to pay.
Rob, Vinny, can you show that clip that you were talking
Rob,
about? Watch this, folks.
By the way, and mind you, he's, the saying, I hate to say I told you so. No. I love it. We told you so.
Look at the eyes.
Less than 3 months. Look at these guys in the street because he
wants to raise. This is who, Rob? This is who?
This is in New York.
These are New Yorkers.
These are New Yorkers.
Rob, can you zoom in so we can read what it is?
Yeah.
Mamdani, voters angry that taxes are going to be raised for everybody, not just the rich. If only there was a historical precedent to prove that socialism has never worked.
Mind you, these people voted for him. So
like Greece.
Go ahead, Rob.
Like the EU.
The mayor, with the greatest respects, in every campaign speech, in every debate, Where you engage, we opened our ears to listen. Now today, accept the words echoing from us now. Do your job as mayor and leave our taxes out.
There's only two options. You're saying if we don't tax the rich, then I got to increase property taxes. We are not a pawn in Southeast Queens. We are not part of your negotiation tactics. Zoran Mondani, you are out your goddamn mind.
By the way, that's called buyer's remorse.
But they voted for him.
No,
yeah?
100%. And again, what was going to be free? Who'd you think was going to pay for it? The billionaires, the millionaires, the billionaires, Bernie Sanders, they're leaving.
Yep.
They're not going to stay there. And the one thing that pissed me off, he's one of the most heavily, this is a liar and a freaking hypocrite. He is one of the most heavily protected politicians, I think, in the United States. There's rumors that he has a detail of up to 60 police officers that protect him and his wife, and it's going to cost taxpayers $10 to $12 million a year. But he wants to get rid of 5,000 New York police officers. So good for all of you. How many, for a year, we've been here telling you guys what was going to happen. You should see the messages I get. You don't know what you're talking about. You're from Yonkers. You're not from New York. Okay, it's happening in real time, and he's been in for how many months? How many months? 2 months? You think that this is just the beginning? Wait and see. Go ahead. It's happening.
I think there should be a civics course that just teaches the average American basic math and to understand the basic math. When you take a look, if you sat there with people in New York, these gentlemen appear to be informed, reasonable people that are very upset and going to the microphone out there in a peaceful demonstration, making their point known, making their voice heard. This is America at its best, when it's like, oh my goodness. Now, what they need to remember is that, guys, you voted for this and you didn't pay attention. Yeah. Ron DeSantis, approximately 3 weeks ago, gave, I think it was a civic speech that was going on in Tallahassee, and he talked about how the amount of money being spent per capita in New York was greater than the total budget for everything provided, including roads, disaster relief, everything, water treatment plants in the entire state of Florida that has the number of people that live here. So DeSantis made that point, and then these folks didn't understand things like when we saw Fox Business, Neil Cavuto, sits there and this girl said, we should just tax everything from the wealthy and we'll pay for Social Security, Medicare forever. And Neil Cavuto said, if you took every penny from everybody in this, you remember this, in this nation that was worth more than $500 million, take it all, you'll only pay for Medicare and Social Security for 7 years. And the system's still broken. There needs to be a collective understanding getting past the emotion of hate in this country so that people understand what you're voting for. Tax the rich sounds good, but it doesn't work. It's like you've got a $20 bill in your pocket and all your friends say, you should take the entire gang out for dinner. You don't have enough to cover. People don't see this, Pat. This is where you and I agree, Pat, on the need for education, including civics education about how government really works, how big the debt really is, and how offsetting these promises are, so you can look at somebody and say, you know what, you can't do that. That won't even work. And yet they voted for it, and now they're out there exercising their right to free speech. But good luck, guys. You're going to be there till the next mayoral election.
Okay.
Mom Donnie, is it mine?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Mom Donnie, you've done it now. I mean, listen, it's one thing to piss off some liberal white women. Oh my God, it'll be an inconvenience, as Andrew Tate says. Start pissing off some dudes, some angry black men in New York. You're gonna have a little bit more than an inconvenience. You're gonna have a revolution on your hands. So these guys are not going away. They're not quiet, and these are the guys that actually work, and they're not just pushing paper and some bureaucracy. These are the people that are gonna storm the Capitol, so to speak.
It said homeowner.
Exactly.
He's a homeowner. And now he's like,
these are not the dudes you want to mess with. So shout out to them. I'm not sure if they voted for him or not.
No, he
whatever.
said, he goes, I've been supporting you.
Oh,
And he
really?
goes, I listened and I believed your nonsense.
Guys, time and time again, we've seen
but you remember,
the lies of socialism and communism.
Well, you guys remember that time that
will come home to roost.
Communism and socialism worked in that place with the thing and the
never.
No.
What's Pat? Someone gave you the book, The Benefits of Communism,
and it was
empty. And then you open it, just empty page after page after page after page.
Let's go to a couple other stories. I liked it. A couple stories before we wrap up. Tucker Carlson detained in Rob. Where was Tucker Carlson detained?
In Israel.
He was detained in Israel, dragged into interrogation room as explosive interview sparks diplomatic firestorm. Somebody give Tucker Carlson's marketing department a freaking raise.
Sparks is such a good word.
I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. Conservative podcast, Tucker Carlson, the staff was detained on Israel Wednesday following an interview with Trump, with Donald Trump's ambassador to the country, Mike Huckabee. This interview was done in Tel Aviv. Carlson exclusively told Daily Mail that shortly after the interview, Israeli officials confiscated his passport and hauled one of his colleagues off to an interrogation room. Men who identified themselves as airport security took our passports, hauled our executive producer into a room, and then demanded to know what we spoke to Ambassador Huckabee about. Carlson told Daily Mail, it was bizarre. We're now out of the country. Too bad Tucker stayed in the airport in the face of so many invitations. So to see many wonderful places, a huge and obviously intentional missed opportunity, taunted David Friedman, the former U.S. ambassador to Israel during Trump's first term. So while this is going on and everybody's like, wow, that sucks, the fact that he was detained,
it's a lie.
A video came out. Rob, if you want to play this clip, go for it. It's disturbing. So, folks, just I want to tell you, it's a little bit tough to watch.
Here,
Go ahead.
Something?
Look what they're doing to him. This is so inappropriate.
Oh my God.
Oh, they hit him. They hit him.
It looks like they're strangling him.
That's a
With a
battery.
hug.
They hit him.
A
I mean,
battery.
that's sexual harassment right there, if you think about it. Like, that arm went a little too low. So,
And that's
any
them taking
man
the
take
passport,
such
by the way.
abuse?
He's taking that was him running he's never been to Israel, maybe. I don't know if you all have been there, but they take security a little bit more seriously than they do in other places. They take your passport. They ask you a lot of questions. What I have been told by multiple sources is the interview that he did went terribly for him. Terribly. And by the way, he's releasing it at a time where no one in Israel can actually watch it because it will be during Shabbat. It will come out this afternoon. But I've been told it went well, and this is a way to, I think, try to create a distraction. Nothing happened, nothing unusual. Anyone who's ever been to Israel understands they ask a lot of questions when you're coming in and you're going out.
Yeah, well, I'll say it again for the millionth time. Tucker Carlson cannot be trusted. Let me say this again. Tucker Carlson cannot be trusted. I highly encourage the Mossad, whoever was there, to kill him with kindness and treat him nicely and treat him royally. What do you do with someone who just talks the most amount of trash about you? Like in real life, if you encounter someone who all they do is talk trash, what are your ramifications? Do you address it? Do you not address it? Do you deal with it head on? How do we handle this? Tucker Carlson is not a truth teller. He's spinning a narrative and he's making things up as he goes. If he genuinely cared about the Christian community, or as he so to speak, go visit them, buddy. Leave the airport. So you're willing to give these softball interviews to the president of Iran, to Putin, genuine enemies of the United States.
Actually, by the way,
but our ally, you're gonna be like, they threw me in a room and harassed me, buddy. We have video, homeboy, of you smiling, hugging, and laughing.
What do you think about this?
So which one is it?
I don't know. Well, who made the claim that he was harassed and detained and it sparked what?
Himself.
No,
Himself.
Yes, and guess what it's gonna do? Guess what it's gonna do?
His
It's
pants
make
are gonna be on
people
fire?
Watch this interview and see. It's all to get.
And by the way, who's the
I don't
interview
believe
with?
it at all.
Mike Huckabee.
With Mike
video's right
Huckabee.
there.
And how did he end up visiting Israel with Mike Huckabee? My assumption is Mike Huckabee was like, hey, buddy, why don't you just come see for yourself?
He attacked Huckabee. He's done it to me, by the way. He's asked me to go on his show.
Yeah.
He attacked Huckabee. Huckabee went online and said, well, instead of attacking me, why don't you come talk to me? Huckabee said he would do it in Israel, and that was, he didn't leave the airport. It's sort of a stunning thing. I was in Israel last summer.
They did the interview in the
airport. Yeah, he didn't leave the airport.
So he never won't walk around, talk to the people?
No, he didn't leave the airport. He was there for about 3 hours.
He went to, where did he go to?
Qatar.
Walk around and talk to all the locals?
Jordan, Qatar, multiple countries.
And Christian groups in Israel. By the way, the only place in the Middle East where the Christian population is growing, Christian groups in Israel said, please stop saying these things. Please come see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where they believe that Jesus was crucified. See where they believe Jesus' tomb was. Come
Didn't he
and
just
see
do
these
an
places.
interview with somebody that said it's tough being a Christian in Israel? They treat you so.
Older lady, the older.
I don't know who
weird
it
with the
was, but there
mustache.
was
The nun
something
with the mustache that lied?
The nun stash.
Yeah. No, he does these interviews. But what was extraordinary is I was in Israel with many of my colleagues last summer, my freshman colleagues, and they were stunned by how different Christian sites were treated in the areas that were run by Israel, like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in the Old City, versus how the Church of the Nativity was in Bethlehem, which was run by by Hamas or whoever you want, the Palestinian Authority. So it's very different, and he was given the opportunity to see the truth. I've said Tucker Carlson's the most dangerous anti-Semite in America, and the reason for that is he trades on a reputation he built over 20 years as a leader of conservative thought to now go on and say all of these lies. But he did not leave the airport.
Well,
Just
Pat,
think about that. He flew to Israel. He didn't
know
go to Jerusalem. He didn't do the interview in Tel Aviv. He did it at the Ben Gurion airport in a conference room.
Hey, pal, you remember when I went to Israel and I went to the Armenian Quarter.
Best hummus in Israel.
Great hummus. And I got you the gift from the Armenian Quarter.
Yep.
There's 4 quarters in Jerusalem. There's the Jewish Quarter, the Christian Quarter, the Armenian Quarter, and the Muslim Quarter. That's the only quarter that no one else is allowed to visit, the Muslim Quarter. But I'll tell you this. I took my mom. Remember, we interviewed Andrew Tate. It was June. I flew back, took my mom as my date to a wedding to my friend. And I know my mom loves to talk to people. She can't not, I love my mom. I said, Mom, we're in line at El Al Airlines. Don't talk to these people. They're not your friend. My mom can't help herself. Hey, how are you? I go, Mom, stop talking to people. We got held up in line because my mom was too friendly. So if you've ever dealt with Israeli security, hot tip, they're a little on edge. They don't know who's coming in the country, and God forbid you come in the country and you don't want to basically be a nice person and you want to Allah Akbar the whole country. They're a little immune to that, and they're sensitive to that. I go, Mom, we need to talk. Once we leave the airport and get into the plane, talk to whoever you want. Once we leave the plane and basically go through customs, no talking. The bottom line is this. Israel takes security super sensitive because they're dealing with terrorists all around them. So Tucker Carlson, you got caught lying, and there's video proof of them treating him nicely.
Rob, what is this?
This, according to multiple sources, it looks like the Jerusalem Post, I don't know what JP is, but definitely the New York Post confirming that Tucker Carlson did conduct the Mike Huckabee interview at the Israeli airport.
In the airport?
Inside
Basically,
the
he
airport.
wouldn't
Why
leave
did
the
he
airport.
leave the airport, though?
Because he was only there for 3 hours, including this horrific detention. Apparently, I mean, where he was obviously tortured in the 3 hours that he did the interview and he left.
But here's what I would say: if he doesn't want the world to see it, don't say you were detained, because now everybody's going to want to see it. So if it's an embarrassing interview,
Maybe
you
it's
wouldn't
not.
promote it this way.
Pat,
I sort of wondered if he would claim that, oh gosh, while I was detained, the video got deleted or something like that. I don't understand
What do you think?
That.
Like, oh, they took the chip. The chip went through the X-ray. The chip went through the X-ray. Oh, yeah, well, we had a 120 gig chip that had it on it, went through the X-ray, and then it was damaged.
Do you think Mike Huckabee recorded the
I don't know.
conversation himself while he's sitting with Tucker? Do you know what I'm saying?
I would assume
You know how
so.
Trump
Should,
says,
yes.
any interview I do, I'm recording it myself as well in case you lie.
Today, most celebrities or politicians have a PR person that sits there and says, we are recording as well, and they'll just put down a digital
We're
recorder
live.
right
we
there
don't
and
have a
leave it.
choice. The audience
I
can
just want to
watch.
add one thing. The challenge that I have is the hypocrisy. This is the same guy a year ago that went to Russia, interviewed literal war criminal Vladimir Putin, went all over Russia and basically gleaned on, oh my God, they're so amazing. Look how clean it is here. This is the guy
The
that will
subways.
kill.
Look at the
look at the
ancient-
subways. Look at the groceries.
The mosaics
So you're
on the
going to do that to
subways.
Russia, who are actively fighting a war against funding Ukraine, but our ally Israel, you're going to treat them this way. This is why, for me, the credibility is so minimal at this point.
What do you
If he
think
would have
it
went
means?
around Israel and generally did a
How do you
fair
feel about
criticism,
this?
I would respect that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, in regard to going and interviewing everybody, that's his job. He's supposed to go and talk to everybody, talk to this person, talk to that person. If you're going to be there, me as a Christian, and I know you stand in the same place, I'm going to those sites. I am a Christian. I don't care
You should.
where it is. I'm going to see where the Messiah was preaching, where he was crucified, the tomb. I have to go see that as a Christian. I don't know if he's ever been there before, but even if I'm going for round 2, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get on my hands and my knees, and I'm going to pray for Christ, because that's my Lord and Savior. I'm not going to go to the airport and just stay there and make the claims that I was harassed unless I want people to be doing exactly what we're doing right now.
And by the way, had he stayed for 2 hours more, he could have gone to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Round trip from the airport with time to visit it. I've been there. I usually end up donating my suit jacket to a Christian person who's not appropriately dressed. So
Mhm.
I sit outside, but I've been there. He would have been welcomed. As you know, if you've been there.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not that you're forbidden from going to the Muslim Quarter. You're sort of told bad things could happen to you.
Yeah,
if you
which
go
they
there.
will.
My children's favorite place to eat in Israel is in the Armenian Quarter. That's why I talk about the hummus. He could have gone. He could have gone to Christian sites all over. He could have gone to the Sea of Galilee. He could have gotten rebaptized, which many of my colleagues did. Look, Tucker Carlson has gone insane. I mean, that's the only conclusion that you can draw.
So I disagree with you on that. Insane is like, he doesn't know what he's doing. I actually think he knows exactly what he's doing. But I do want to give him credit because he said he was buying a house in Qatar. And so
crazy poll for
and
you.
Because he's an American, he buys a house in Qatar.
Crazy
So
poll
respect
for
to you.
Our audience. Do you trust, don't show it. Don't show it, Rob. Do you trust Tucker Carlson? Our audience. What do you think they said?
I think the answer is going to be lower today than it was 6 months ago or a year from now.
6 months ago was very high.
Yes, I mean it
was.
been.
It was.
I almost went on a show
80-90%.
in
What do you think?
40,
it is today?
60.
What was it 6 months
40
ago?
what?
40-60.
40 is what?
40 not trusting him.
60 trusting him?
No, I'm sorry. The majority
60
don't trust him. 40 trust, 60% don't.
What was it 6 months ago?
I'm just saying.
I would say a year ago was 80%.
Yeah.
I would say 60% of audience doesn't
credibility
trust.
has gone down dramatically, and if it was 80-90%, maybe it's 50-50 now.
No, I would say 60-40. They don't trust.
Your
60.
audience may be a little bit more dialed in because they watch you. So
What do you
maybe
think?
it's 30-70 is my
Tom?
hope.
Well, I'm closer to 50-50, but I'm going to go with Vinny at 60-40.
Okay, go ahead and pull it up.
Down from where it was previously.
Look where it's at, guys. Exactly 50-50.
Wow. Okay.
That's our audience.
By the way, that's a great audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's a fair audience to say, here's where I'm at. I love it. Hey, audience, wherever you are, go like this to yourself.
Yeah, pat yourself.
Go
You
like,
said
you know,
you
hey.
agree with Adam. The fact that they agreed with Adam, you got to give him an extra
I
couple cool
see.
points here.
Well, actually,
I
half
see.
of
Because
them.
if you said Tucker
All right.
can't be trusted,
So, Rob,
Actually,
why don't you
half of
just-
them-
Why don't you take Adam out?
Yeah.
and
Half
just
of them
say,
don't agree with Adam. That's also with
do
them.
you
That's
trust?
true.
Why
Thanks,
don't you
Adam.
do you
Oh,
trust?
you're welcome. I'm here if you
Change
need me.
the poll. And by the way, folks, even if you're watching this, real quick, just vote. We're not going to know who's voting. We're just curious. Because I do think he is still somebody that you watch to see what he's doing and give it a minute.
Whoa.
Give it a minute. It'll take a minute to see where the vote goes.
But the
My
reality
dad's voting real fast.
Pat,
so.
the reality is this: is it fair to say Tucker has lost credibility over the last year? Is that a fair
Absolutely.
statement?
This would have been
It's a
a year
statistical
ago.
statement, as a
What do you
matter of
think,
fact.
A year
Adam?
ago, this would have been
Backed up by
100.
You
stats.
think Tucker's lost credibility?
Yes.
I do think so. I do think so with some of the, like, listen, at the end of the day, I've never heard the words come out of an American's mouth when asked. Well, I mean, I've never heard the question asked, why are you buying a house in a completely Muslim country where you can't, Christianity is, you're outlawed? And he says, because I'm an American. What? It doesn't make, so that moment for me, I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense, so you lose credibility in that sense. He can't go practice Christianity. What's going to happen to him if he goes there? It's not good. It's not good. So either, you
Let's
know.
go to the next story.
I don't know.
Where do we end up here? Do you trust Tucker? 60% almost say no.
Yeah, so Tom, we
So
were
all
Tom,
you
we were
had to
good.
do was remove Adam from
Tom, we're right.
By the way,
40,
I
60.
pointed that out.
40, 60.
So that means I'm increasing Tucker's credibility?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
You made it go 50-50.
Shout out to our audience today for actually getting things right. Respect to you.
Okay, there you go. All right, so let's go to the next story. Chicago Bears. Big story, guys. Chicago Bears are about to become the Indiana Bears or the Hammond Bears. Makes no sense, but it's happening. And when you see the decision, the reason why they're doing it, it's wild. By the way, here is the mayor when talked about this. Look what he does. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, keep a straight face here. The Bears belong in the city of Chicago. The Chicago Bears belong in the city of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Right. And
Yeah.
I've said repeatedly that the door is always open for conversations, Kevin Warren did call me yesterday. We didn't get a chance to connect, and I still firmly believe that their best position is in Chicago, and it's evidence. The evidence is clearly speaking for itself. Look, I can't get into the psyche and the motivation of this organization. We're all grateful that, there's a winning team on the field. This weekend, obviously, is incredibly important, and there's going to be some pretty decent weather for us to be able to, clinch a playoff spot for the first time in a long time. So that's a good thing for our city and the morale of our city, And, as far as what their motivations are, I can't speak to that. And my position has been very clear. You all know that. There's not been a politician in this city that has worked as hard as I have
He's going to keep going,
to ensure that the Bears have a package that keeps them, quite frankly, at the most unique, special property anywhere in our city.
This guy's almost as
Catch
smart
the
as
latest.
AOC.
Wow. Listening to the Chicago mayor talk about capitalism and business is like listening to AOC talk about foreign policy. It's they're struggling for words. They don't know where to start, and they don't know what's up. Well, I'll tell you what else happened. What's going on here. The Chicago Bears are a business, ladies and gentlemen, and business in Chicago doesn't seem very good. And they're trying to build or rebuild a new stadium. They play at Soldier Field, which everyone, if you ask the fans of the Chicago Bears, and I know fans of the Bears, do you go up to Chicago to see your team once in a while? They say, yeah, but only September, October, only early games. Because if it's raining and it's windy or it's snowy, those November and early December games just terrible. It's just horrible because of the way the stadium is built. It's an old, hulking stadium. It's an icon and a landmark in Chicago. Both of those things are true. But the business of the Chicago Bears, Pat, you're an owner in a professional sports team. It's a business, and you want the best fan experience. You want the best experience for the team, and stadiums get modernized. Yankee Stadium, where you're an owner, it's the second Yankee Stadium. They rebuilt it to provide more services and experience and bigger bathrooms for the modern fan, all these things. And guess what? Illinois' House of Revenue and Finance Committee held a hearing just this past Thursday that would allow the Bears or any other developer of a large project to negotiate long-term property taxes with local. But that got canceled. By who? With pressure from the mayor's office. Oh, that guy. And we must agree on a bill that will move things forward, J.B. Pritzker said. They have been sitting there screwing around on this for 5 months. And then what did the Bears say, Pat? You know what? We're a business, and we've been negotiating with you guys for 5 months. We'd just like you to know we have a location, and we've got interest, and we've got something cooking right over here in northwest Indiana, so we may do it there. And then all of a sudden, they erupt because they're losing. It's like, listen, Illinois, listen, Chicago, you're about to take the L. The Bears aren't leaving. You're about to lose them. You're about to lose the Bears to Northwest Indiana. The Bears aren't leaving. You're about to take the L.
J.B. Pritzker and his Pritzker family are not having a good month. I know, Rob, you want to play this video, Rob?
Yes. J.B., while he was speaking, is going, why is my brother texting me like this?
Well, let me start with the fact that it was a surprise to us. The Bears actually, yesterday, we completed more than 3 hours, my team did, of discussions with the Bears. Very positive discussions. And indeed, mostly agreed on a bill that would move forward this morning. But they asked us not to move forward with it this morning because they said they wanted to tweak a couple of items in the bill, which were things that we were working with them on. And so to have a statement put out by the Bears, now they're saying to us that that statement is not some confirmation that they're moving to Indiana, but rather that Indiana had asked them to say that, you know, they're going to move forward with the negotiations in Indiana. But I have to say it's very disappointing to hear that they would put that statement out but not say anything about
Rob, you can stop it. By the way, when I say they're having a bad month, I mean, he's been having a bad year. His cousin Tom Pritzker just stepped down as chairman of the Hyatt because of his close relationship with Epstein, and now they're leaving after 105 years. But guys, and Tom, remember we talked about, you said J.B. Pritzker might be the presidential, I think the way that Chicago's been run, the way that Chirac, you're calling a place in your freaking city, Iraq, you let illegals come in, you're anti-cop, and then he's got his priorities wrong, Tom. He raised taxes and fees 50 times since he's been there. He spent nearly $3 billion on illegal immigrants. And then 1 million people have left Illinois since he became governor. This is it, guys. This is the proof in the pudding. This is, you get what you vote for. And this is it. They have no policies. They have no backbone. It's just Trump is evil. Trump is Hitler. But then when you look back and look at their city, you're like, hey, what are you guys doing? Absolutely nothing. And I really, dude, it's happening. They're definitely going to go to Indiana.
So I'm looking at this. I'm just pulling up numbers because to me, it's purely numbers, right? When you break it down to see how much taxes they're going to be paying for where they're at. So assessed value. Commercial property in Cook County is assessed at 25% of market value, official rate. So if the land is valued at $200 million, assessed value is 25%, $50 million. Okay, great. So I'm going to come and say, guys, we would like to build it here, but give us a break. Like, we're bringing a lot of people to your city. Work with us. State equalizer factor, Illinois applies a multiplier, often 2.9 to 3 in Cook County, which means if AV assessed value is $50 million, what's the multiplier? 3 times 50 is $150 million. Okay, so
we'll
you
tax you on that.
So then, roughly, the tax on that is 6 to 7% of equalized value, assessed value. So you got 6% of $150 million is what? $9 million. So initial estimated tax report is 16 to 20 million. They're looking at, okay, if I go to Hammond, I don't have to pay for this. They're working with me. They're sitting there saying, yeah, we'll work with you. You don't have to pay for this. So Indiana's approach could mean far lower annual payments than 50 to 75 million a year, estimated in a scenario where a stadium paid full Illinois property tax. What are you going to do? So if you're saving, say, $20 million a year and you put $20 million in EBITDA, 20x, you know, what's 20 million times 20x? You're saving $400 million in valuation. Of course I'm going to a different place.
Yep.
It's just like
And by the way,
of course.
This is just
what do you
like,
think I'm going to do?
And by the way, Indiana also is giving them a much larger parcel to have more parking on it for the fans, access to 2 large highways, and public transportation. I'm not lobbying for Indiana. I'm just saying that's going to end up being a better fan experience in addition to a better business decision.
And you don't get shot and stabbed outside of the stadium. So
well, you
that's
pay extra for that.
That's the best
Season
part.
tickets.
Oh, you got to pay more for
season tickets to
So
that
by
is
the way,
extra.
so what this tells you is, if you want to build a sports team, by the way, we were, Tom, see if you remember this. We were last year looking at Vault Conference. You know what's one of the places we looked at for Vault Conference? What is that one team that plays a college basketball team that plays in Chicago?
Loyola Marymount?
Not Loyola. It's another one.
Northwestern?
No, it's another one. But they have a basketball stadium that fits 12,000 people. Let me see which one. DePaul.
DePaul?
I think it was DePaul. It could have been DePaul. So we looked
Could have been
at,
Michael Jordan Stadium.
I don't know which one it is, but we looked at it. And then while we're going through our person that gives us advice to what look at, the stadium looked beautiful. It would be a great arena. We'd fit, 10, 12,000 people. He says, but if you look at around the area, read this article. The article was the amount of crime that happens around that stadium.
Yeah.
By the way, once they said that, we didn't even fly out to look at the property.
Oh, wow.
If I'm taking my kids to go look at a game, safety is critical. Safety is critical. You got to think about the business. You got to think about, by the way, I asked the question, what is the drive from the old stadium, the Bears Stadium, to the new stadium in Hammond?
Soldier Field?
It is 22 to 27 miles by road, 30 to 40 minutes traffic. The people will drive.
Oh, yeah.
The people will drive.
They do. They go to the casinos there.
Yeah, exactly.
They will drive. You just lost a massive. You lost Ken Griffin. You lost Citadel.
Yep.
You lost all of these other companies that left. And now you lose the Bears. By the way,
You lost the
maybe
Bears.
to the city of Chicago, losing the Bears is here.
Oh, yeah.
To the city of Chicago, you mean to tell me moving forward I have to say the Hammond Bears? That's an insult.
Are they still going to be called the Chicago Bears?
Not
though, or no?
Chicago Bears. No,
The Bears.
Wow.
It's the same thing as New York. People can leave. That's what
Yeah.
these socialist politicians don't understand.
Well, Pat-
you can quit your local government. Just move
Yeah.
your business. Adam?
Well, teams move all the time. This isn't nothing new for teams. I mean, Tom's favorite team is the LA Dodgers. They broke Brooklyn's heart when they moved in whatever year you were there doing their thing in the 50s.
Dodgers.
So
1955 when I
there
was
you go,
graduating
right
high
there.
school, yeah.
The Raiders, your other team, they've been between Vegas, LA, Oakland, who knows, Seattle, Supersonic, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton. They became OKC. They just won a championship. Cleveland Browns. These things happen all the time for money, for stadiums, for bigger markets or better markets. But the Chicago Bears, if you know anything about like pop culture, the 1985 Bears was arguably the best football team of all time, right? Walter Payton, Refrigerator Perry, Jim McMahon. It became such an iconic team that SNL reenacted it with the super fans. Remember Chris Farley is like, the Bears, the Bears, the Bears. They're so iconic. By the way, fun fact, my mom's first cousin, Mark Trestman, was actually head coach of the Bears like 15 years ago. They didn't win because they haven't won anything. But got a beloved, the soft place in my heart for the Bears. But moving on to greener and more profitable pastures, and nothing is forever.
There you go. Well, for me, when I would go to Chicago, and if you have friends from Chicago, let me tell you, there's one conversation that's going to come up, and that's the Bears, okay? You're going to talk about that. So this is a massive, massive loss, and I don't think it's going to slow down. And I think, by the way, if Mamdani continues going the direction he's going, some stuff could happen with that area as well. We haven't heard any of it yet.
Really?
We got a lot of other stories to cover.
You think the Knicks are going to move?
No, but I think there could be something happening.
The Knicks should cancel Spike Lee.
Can we do one last thing here? Let's finish up on this.
To society.
Elon Musk was asked about Jesus, and he said he agrees with Jesus' teaching. Christians urge him to embrace the full gospel. Rob, is this in an interview? Go ahead, Rob.
I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated. And that there's great wisdom in the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with those teachings. And things like turn the other cheek are very important, because as opposed to an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. So forgiveness, is important, and treating people as you would wish to be treated. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Very important.
Vinny.
I mean, listen, when it's somebody like Elon that's worth hundreds of millions, he's like you said last year, he's going to be one of the first guys here to hit $1 trillion. He controls rockets,
first guy ever.
satellite. Well, I mean, the Middle East, I'm pretty sure your boy Putin, he's definitely $1 trillion. He owns Russia.
Putin in the Middle East.
The guy that owns satellites, AI, and all this, having that guy leaning towards, he talked about a creator last week. He's talking about Jesus because, I mean, undoubtedly, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, Jesus Christ was here. That's full stop. Whatever people want to believe who he was, I have a different belief. But having somebody like this, that's a step in the right direction. By the way, this guy owns the rockets. He owns freaking AI. He's going to have an army of robots. Having him be on the Christian side and saying turn the other cheek and stuff like that, Pat, I think it's such a positive thing. I'm just curious if he takes the next step. Because acknowledging the teachings, but then becoming a Christian is a whole different
Rob, this
thing.
is good. If you want to play this as well, go for it. This is, you know who he is. Tim Allen, right? The actor.
That's
go ahead,
Tim
Rob.
Allen?
This is Tim Allen.
Wow.
Watch your language.
It's very little preachy stuff. The Aramaic, French, Latin, and Greek versions of the Old Testament, page by page. I put it down if I drift. And I got all the way through the Old Testament. I'm 4 pages into the New Testament as of this morning. Reading it as a scientist is what 2 guys told me, a priest and a rabbi. EXE, let the words come to you. Do not look for meaning. It will come to you. And all of that it's been life-changing. It's stories you'll derive, it's mostly the Torah is about law, law and consequence and all this. And the book of Job is the one that affected me most. And even in this version, they're not sure where that was even written. It might have been written way before the Old Testament. This whole story about a guy who asked the emanation, why are you so mean to me? The emanation very rarely talks to humans because it's like speaking to an ant. You can't understand anything it says. And it said, listen, do you understand why the waves stop at the shore? Probably not. Do you understand why birds fly at a certain time of day but not others?
Isn't it great that when you're going through this journey independently yourself, isn't it kind of cool when you're going through this yourself? But to happen with Elon, do you think we will have a time where Elon's wearing a big cross and doing podcasts and interviews? That would be a weird day. Can you imagine when that takes place?
Man.
And then in his profile, he's got like a cross, Team Jesus. Anything is possible. But if he does that, and then, going to the moon and all this, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Either way,
It's
the
a step in
future
the
looks
pro-
bright.
Yes, it
But
does.
guys, as usual, great conversation. Randy, it was great having you on. This was a great conversation. I didn't know where we were going to go at the beginning, but it ended up being a good conversation. We cover a lot of different things. Rob, what do we have next week? Home Team Monday?
Yes, sir.
We were supposed to, we're doing a what? We're doing a pure Home Team Monday.
Just Home Team Monday.
Okay, beautiful. We'll do a Home Team Monday. Gang, have a wonderful weekend. God bless. We will do it again next week. Go Hammond Bears. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.